We got a live stream treat tonight. We've got Gilbert Deltrez, one of the creators of Galactic Rodents of Mayhem.
Yes, sir.
That is, okay, first and foremost, one of the best titles ever.
You're not lying, right?
No.
No, and I say that because I've teased the project around, and I've teased it around on Facebook. I don't get much traction from Facebook, only when I'm doing Kickstarters. But I organically posted the cover, and I said, guys, if you're walking down a comic book shop aisle, if you see this title, will you just pick it up to flip through it? I didn't say, would you buy it or anything?
Right.
So like, yeah, maybe I'll give it the old look. See some, yeah, like, oh, I think it looks cool. Oh, the title, I don't really. Some like a few people didn't like the title, but on the flip side, there was like one or two that did. So I'm glad and excited that you actually like the title. So
yeah, oh no,
yeah.
The minute it was really funny. I mean, honestly, the first time I saw you post anything, and I saw the first I saw the art. The art caught my attention, and then I saw the name, and I'm like, that's fantastic. I need to know what this is.
Awesome. Then we hit the mark. I gotta admit, the title wasn't fully my idea. Sebastian, when we were trying to figure out what to go with, he just had in his mind Rodents of Mayhem. And okay. I'm like, I like it, but I'm like, it needs something. I'm like, Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. And that just, boom, he liked it too. And that was it.
So this, I mean, clear inspiration, I guess you would call it, from some of the stuff that's been done in the past with, anthropomorphic animals,
sure.
Things like Ninja Turtles, obviously. I even see like a little bit of like, just seeing anything like this, it makes me think of Ninja Turtles, makes me think of like Star Fox.
Oh, yes. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Anything like that. So is that like kind of where this all came from? Like, how did this whole thing end up coming to be?
Okay. So I've crowdfunded Under the Flesh. That was my first webcomic. I'm kind of in a halfway point with that one. Lair, which is supernatural horror, all this dark stuff. I jumped to the Tarantino Vendetta Western with Pistolera. So I'm like, man, I want to go back into doing something really fun, period. Like, I just wanted to do something that I thought would be exciting for people who love comics to read. And that's where Galactic Rodents of Mayhem came to be. And for me growing up, I idolized the Ninja Turtles. That's all I worship. I mean, most of my comic fun could be from the Ninja Turtles, and I loved when they were gritty. I think I missed that now going forward. I jumped on IDW's latest run,
right?
And I got into it, but I couldn't get into it the way I got into with the original Ninja Turtle Mirage one, where I was just going just to issue beyond issue nonstop. So I kind of wanted to capture that, and anthropomorphic is what I wanted to do. But I talked with Sebastian, and he did Lair. He loved the idea, and the key part was finding the animals. And again, we didn't want to just make it all martial artist type stuff like Ninja Turtles. I also wanted to piggyback like the love that I had for Star Wars, but also the decline I'm seeing with the franchise, and how I feel like, hold up, there's an element to Star Wars in the beginning that people seem to like be forgetting, that it also had its grit. And I wanted to create a story that's like, hey, it's going to be new, it's going to be fresh, but guess what? It's going to be inspired by the good old stuff that, for me, was the backbone of fun comics. And that's when the anthropomorphic, Galactic Rodents of Mayhem came to be, and the Cappybaras and all.
So now, how did you settle on capybaras? I mean, they're not the most common animal.
Okay, I'm going to be honest again. I got to give another check to Sebastian, as co-creator of Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. We were trying to figure the animal, and I'm like, okay, like, what animal are we going to do? Like, the animal is the secret ingredient. And if you don't have an animal that is kind of interesting or cool or something, then, you don't really have anything. And he said capybaras. And I'm like, what in the world is a capybara? Dude, I never heard of it. Have you heard of it?
I have, actually, yeah.
You're good, man. You're versed.
Well, I'm a big animal guy, so.
Okay. So real quick, have you heard of pangolins?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll be happy then. No, I'm just the fact that you know about that is just you're gonna appreciate Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. But the Cappybaras, I'm sorry, I don't know if I was under a rock all this time where I missed that they were the coolest thing in the rodent world. I had no history I had no knowledge, no nothing. So all I did, but this was his pitch. He said a capybara. He said they, and I quote him, they are the most chill animal species in the world. And then he said they get along with every other animal. And when I looked online, I saw them with a crocodile. And at that moment, he was saying they also get along with crocodiles. I'm like, holy cow.
Wow.
Dude, I was in love. I was in love. As a matter of fact, Galactic Rodents of Mayhem would have never existed without the capybaras. And I think when I told him I kind of want to go to this fun route, he's like, Rodents of Mayhem. He's like, let's do capybara. He like had it in mind. Once I said that, he was like, he could feel it. And the more I started researching capybaras, the more I fell in love, and the more fuel, the more ammunition I had, to load up the storytelling canon and just get the script out. And we initially wanted to do something like 40 pages and leave it at that. But as I was writing the story, as the main thing was coming together, when everything was, materializing, there was no way I could stop at 40 pages just because the way the story was taken over and it was, it was becoming a microcosm of itself. I couldn't just, you can't shut the door on that. You can't shortcut it. So when it was all said and done, it was 104 pages. And it was, for me, such a fun way of writing, to the point where I laughed, to the point where I got upset, to the point where I shed a tear or two, which I don't like to say because, I don't like to admit that I cry, right? But what I'm trying to say is this is something special. And even though it's fun, right, I'm touching up on that grit that I feel we're losing on.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I'm formulating a message here, a message about the past, about forgiveness. So I'm trying to do all that in a new story that hits up on everything we loved growing up as a kids. Everything anthropomorphic. I'm talking about films. I'm talking about video game culture. You mentioned Star Fox. There's Star Fox references in there. There's a Battletoad reference in there. There's Street Sharks. You name it. Biker Mice from Mars. I'm going to put a Biker Mice from Mars reference in there because, again, I told you I idolized the Ninja Turtles. I knew nothing of Biker Mice from Mars. I didn't know they had a cool Super Nintendo game. I missed that. I didn't even know they had a cartoon show until when I was promoting this before I was launching it live. I was just trying to get natural feedback on some forums. And someone's like, wow, this is like Biker Mice from Mars. I'm like, Biker Mice from Mars? I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, Googled it. I'm like, where the hell was I in the 90s? I was so infatuated with the Ninja Turtles that like any other anthropomorphic title, I didn't give it the light of day as far as cartoon-wise. Video games is another story, but I did not know about Biker Mice from Mars. So now I tailored a small little Biker Mice from Mars reference in there. So this is going to be fun and special, and it's ambitious, but it has a big delivery and payoff.
I'm looking. It's funny because I know what, like, I was the same. I was absolutely obsessed with Ninja Turtles when I was a kid, so I completely understand that. Like, I remember when the oh god, if I can get it right, the radioactive black belt kung fu hamsters. Is that right?
About that.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
They, like, I heard about them and I'm like, oh, that's awful. It's a ripoff of the Ninja. Like, I was mad because I was like, they weren't the Turtles. Like,
well, it's here's the thing. Just to piggyback on that, before we get into that real quick, who's your favorite Ninja Turtle?
I will say Leonardo.
Okay, awesome. I respect that. Mine's is Donatello, so
okay,
we're good there. But but about the Mad, okay, I think the adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters, I think that's like a parody, and they treat it as such. But at the same time, when you get in, I think you like the characters, and it also hits you where it's supposed to hit you as far as sentimental values and enjoying a good book, which is what the mission of a good comic book should be. I had, when Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, we have the picture that you used as a thumbnail for this image. That was from our retro cover. That was like our original cover. So we had a colorist on the team that he couldn't commit to the book for health concerns. So we had to find a new colorist. So we had a reference. We got a new colorist. Okay, great. And in my head, I'm like, okay,
oh, are you there? We might have lost Gilbert. All right. If you can hear me, Gil, like maybe drop out and come back in. We'll see if it starts working again. All right. So anyway,
I lost you, right?
There you are. Oh, you're back.
Okay. Yeah, because I got like this refreshing sign on the YouTube channel, so I wasn't knowing if you were. Where did I cut out?
You were saying you had to get a new colorist. So you had a reference. You got a reference. You got a new colorist on board.
Okay.
And then you started cutting out.
Okay, great. So I got a new colorist, right? So with that being said, I wanted a new image for this new team that's coming together, and I still felt like it was a cool cover, the original we had, but I wanted something more. And more Ninja Turtle as far as impact, right? Because like Ninja, if you see those covers, on the city landscape, and it's just dynamic. I wanted kind of that feel, and I wanted a manhole cover, like a little sewer hole. Like I literally wanted it in there, just to okay. That's my little reference, right? So the point I'm trying to get, we created an awesome cover that's going to be the cover of the book. But I teased that not while it was colored, but I was in the black and white phase, and I teased it on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle forum. And I'm like, hey guys, because of my love of the Ninja Turtles, these Cappybara bounty hunters wouldn't exist. And someone, some cool comments there, but one person, like that keyboard warrior, that troll of the group, that like probably how upset that you saw the radioactive ham. Probably he's like, what the freak is it? I don't know what, if he thought it was blasphemy, I don't know what, but I'm like, I'm just being honest. If it wasn't for the Ninja Turtles, I'm not trying to be cheap, I'm just being honest. These capybaras wouldn't exist. It got to the point where he's like, what does this have to do with the Ninja Turtles? And I'm paraphrasing by his capping, right? Because how he typed it out. And I'm like, did you miss the sewer, the sewer manhole cover, the sewer reference? Did you miss that? He's like, that doesn't mean it's associated with the Ninja Turtles. I'm like, dang, in my mind, I'm like, do people don't understand like creative license? Like, are you serious? I'm like, do I have to put NYC on it? I'm like, I'm not. And then I'm like, mods, if you need to freaking get this post and delete it, just do it. I'm like, I was here just to create a cool topic, and so I talked with the moderator, and long story short, I haven't went back promoting my stuff. I promoted some other TMNT related stuff, but I am going to drop a bomb on them because I might have an artist that's tied to the Ninja Turtles doing a pinup for Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. So if that gets finalized, that's my perfect segue into awesome. That Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle group, and hopefully I could get some of their backing, because I'm not trying to take over the Ninja Turtles. They're my freaking idols, but at the same time, in me paying homage, I'm creating something different, not to rip it off, but just to say, hey, if you like this, you'll like that.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, listen, when I was upset at the hamsters, but I was 11, 12 years old.
You're making me wonder about that person now. Right? Because I get your sentiment back then, right? It's like that kid wasn't 11, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing when you're a kid and you're you love listen, this is in the heyday of I was a Nintendo kid. So if somebody came at me with oh, Genesis is better than Super Nintendo, I'd be like, okay, we're gonna fight now.
You mean you didn't get both?
No, I didn't have both.
Okay, so you're the Super Nintendo guy.
Yeah, I was definitely a Super Nintendo kid.
Okay. I started out with the Genesis, so Sonic and all that. I was big time Genesis guy. But then I was able to get a Super Nintendo. Not right away. It took a while, but when I got it, holy cow, was that the best thing? I mean, Star Fox was fun. I played some RPGs, Chrono Trigger, some of my best experiences on the Super Nintendo. Holy cow. But yeah, I know the fanboyism that comes out every now and then. It's
funny. And then what's really funny is as I got older, then I just started getting everything. I would get every system. It didn't matter. You know what I mean? Because I was just likewise. Well, I want to play that game. What system is it on? Okay, I'm getting that.
Likewise. Yeah, likewise. Except now I'm currently gaming on a PS4. I didn't get the Xbox One yet. I'm missing out. I'll probably get it on a sale or something. I've been rolling with the PS4 ever since it launched, and I don't know. Are you still gaming hardcore? Or
not as much as I did. I mean, I have my Nintendo Switch. I got that day of launch.
Me too. There you go. Oh yeah.
And part of it was because it was you know what? This is for me the perfect system for what I need, because I can take it off and just play it on the couch while my wife and my daughter are watching Dance Moms, and you know,
like, the best system, man.
Like I
it's
could take
definitely
it
the
with
best
me,
system.
you know, I could take it on a train ride. We could, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. And then I can just pop it back in when no one's using the TV, and I can play Zelda on the big TV or whatever. You know what I mean? So like definitely for me, that just made the most sense. And I started being more realistic with like the pile of games that I have never even started.
You have a pile of shame too, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
That's a video game thing. Everyone who games hard has a pile of shame. My buddy, and I love this guy. Okay, I'm a blast him a little bit. I'm a blast him a little bit. I love him to death. You know, he's my buddy, hardcore. We grew up since I knew him over 20 years. Anyway, this guy, he's a gamer. Okay. And when I started doing my crowdfunding, I'm like, hey, you know, I'm doing comics and stuff. How about, you know, yo, I could use your help backing up. There's a cool book. And he back when we were kids, he would love to hear my stories. I'm like, wouldn't this be better as a movie? And we just go on, and he'd love it. So I'm like, dude, guess what? I'm putting that energy into creating my own comics now. Guess what? I might need your support on one or two of my projects. What do you say? Yeah, for sure. Hasn't backed the book since, but it's okay. I love my dude. I love him to death. I'm a tease him because that's what I can do. I can tease you, right? But he will have the biggest pile of shame. Like you could literally build a house on that pile of shame of you know of Blu-ray boxes. Like it could go a long way. So again, you know, I get it, and it's something that as gamers, you know, you'll buy, and you'll like your mind is like you thinking you're gonna get to that point where you're gonna be on a deserted island, and you have your console with all these games, no one to bother you, and you could just play them all, you know, nonchalantly. But that's never gonna happen. So even though I like to call myself a gamer, I'm not as hardcore as I used to be. I do have the Switch. I haven't finished Zelda. I'm towards like the end, I know, because I'm beating the last big golem boss or whatnot.
Okay.
But then I saw there's a DLC where he's on a motorcycle or something like that. So I'm like, man, I'm missing out on so much. So what I'm trying to say is I haven't finished a lot of stuff. I bought the new Spider-Man for the PS4. I don't know if you played that. That is a gem. That makes you feel like Spider-Man. That's one of my favorite games ever. And I played it kind of heavily. So that's the one that I'm close to finishing. But yeah, man, I know about the pile of shame.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. I mean, it happens. You get, you know, when you start, especially like when you start out, you know, for me, like I said, I grew up originally. I mean, my very first gaming system that I had as a kid, my dad had like this Radio Shack version of Pong that we played, like, you know, and then like from there, I had an Intellivision. And then I had a Commodore 64.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then after that, I remember this is the funniest thing. We had the Commodore, and the NES came out, and one of my friends had it, and I was like, I need one of these. Like, this is the greatest thing that has ever been created by humankind. Like, I have to have this. And my parents were like, you have the computer. What do you need that for? I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, oh man. And I had to save up my money from my paper route to buy it myself.
Okay.
So
right on.
So I did.
And you to grind it out. That's what's up. And you did that. Oh man, that's amazing.
Kudos to you, dude. Saved up my money, went out and bought the action set with Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt.
Nice.
And then from there, it was just like it was so funny because I bought that, and then when Super Nintendo came around, it was having the NES in the house. Suddenly, like, my mother started playing games. Like, she'd be playing Tetris, or she'd be playing like some of the other puzzle games and stuff. Like, she'd play Tetris, she'd play Dr. Mario like for hours. And like, so then when I wanted the Super Nintendo, it was okay. It was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. It was never like, oh, you have this, you don't need that anymore, because they do
that a lot. Yeah. It was like, no, yeah, we do need the Super Nintendo.
But then, you know, and then later on, obviously, I wound up just buying. I had a PS2, an Xbox original, GameCube. I bought a Dreamcast.
Oh, I love the Dreamcast. Missed that one.
Yeah, all that stuff. And then eventually, like, I had all this time. I was playing games like, you know, I was playing like Skies of Arcadia and Grandia, like from start to finish.
Time and a half.
You know, from start to finish on the Dreamcast, and then like. you know, things change and like, you know, you get married, you have a kid, and then suddenly you don't have as much time for playing games.
Time for nothing. You don't got time to even look at a game. I think you got to find that balance. I think it's a hard balance to find, but I'm trying not to lose so much time with creating comics, with grinding out, you know, even playing and enjoying video games, spending time with the wife. A kid will consume all your time, but it's important, you know, to still make time for things we enjoy, you know, like video games, comics, you know, good escapism.
Oh yeah.
Because there's so much time of the day, you know, working and everything, but it's all like you say, you still got the Switch, so you can't, you know, it might not be as hardcore to do like a, you know, marathon session, you know,
right,
where we used to do back in the day, but at least, you know, still making sure there's time.
Yeah, we can still get in there and play. And like my daughter likes to play and my wife likes to play, so we'll get in there and we'll play sometimes together as a family. You know, which is fun. It's something fun to do. You know, but
when you bring the family into it, for sure.
Oh yeah, listen, my wife and I, before we got married, we used to play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater like you would not, like just for hours, hours.
That's a special woman you got there, dude. Because that's a fun game, and it was especially better when you got someone that's, you know, equally excited of the opposite sex, right? Isn't that just amazing?
Oh yeah, no, it was like we used to play, like we played Tony Hawk 3. Like I can't even tell you how many hours we spent playing that game. And then the best, well, it was really funny too because we'd be like playing, and like we'd be done. It'd be like 4 a.m. Like my wife would go home, and it would be like our father would be like, "What were you doing all night?" Like I was playing Tony Hawk. You know, like that's what we were doing. We were playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Like,
oh my gosh, those are the good old days, man. At least we got the memories for that.
Oh yeah, yeah, that and the soundtracks to those games.
Exceptionally well. There's a lot of great video game music out there.
But now, getting back to the comic books, because now, like, that's what I'm focused. Like, a lot of my game time now has gone back to comics, which is something that I used to spend just, you know, tons of money and tons of time on comics, and then that kind of faded. And you know, really, then when I started seeing stuff that was happening, and it was just getting like the industry was just getting awful. Like the characters that I love were just being ruined, and then all of a sudden I see all these other people just starting just on their own, you know, crowdfunding books or going through a really small publishers or whatever, and they're putting out stuff that has heart and soul to it, like they really are giving their all to. And that's what got me really back in, like I jumped back in with both feet, and I'm like, you know, this is it. I'm back because I love comic books, and you know, and I hated that they got so like just you know, like they just got awful. They got boring, which is the worst thing.
That's exactly how they got. I'm gonna be straight up. I grew up, of course, loving comics. My dad take me to the comic shop. I just looked for something that caught my attention. My mom, after church, we, you know, go to a local. It was a corner store, like a deli type thing, and they had a spinner rack, and I'd always pick out a, you know, Spider-Man issue or something. And there was a real magic there because, like, even if I didn't get issue 148, but I picked up issue 149, like somewhere starting from that book and to the end, there was a little something going on. If it was a new character, if it was a new villain, it was just whatever. It had some connection there. But over the years, I started gravitating more towards video games because that was more exciting for me. The stories there were more engaging, more compelling. Because as much as I love Batman and Spider-Man, how many times are you going to tell a Spider-Man and Batman story? You know, like it got to the point where for me, it was just like exhaustion, you know, and I was totally disconnected from like Marvel Comics, from DC. And actually what brought me back into comics was Image. The Walking Dead, that comic. I'm like, because I love zombie movies. I'm a big zombophile. And somebody's like, oh, The Walking Dead. I don't know how I found out about The Walking Dead. I'm like, what the hell? A comic book, but on zombies? And it's like the pitch that I remember reading is something like, hey, you know how you watch a zombie movie and it just ends and there's never closure? It's like, well, we got an ongoing zombie story. And for me, that was just like the heroin I needed.
Yeah.
And I started buying the floppies. I was collecting them. I got to like issue, I don't know, I got deep in there. I sold it all on eBay stupidly. Yeah, seriously. I got a good chunk of money, but still was a dumb move. But that kind of pulled me back in. And the enjoyment from that transition, because I always like reading, watching movies, books, video games. So I always was big on storytelling. I love it. The fact that you could just convey message through a narrative. And I'm like, okay, since I'm so disappointed with a lot of the stuff I'm seeing in comics, like you were, since I'm so disappointed in some movies I'm seeing, and it's just like, you know what? I want to write my own stuff. And that's how I got back into comics. And that's when I, started crowdfunding, because that was a thing. I'm like, okay, you can crowdfund, like, because comics are insanely expensive. Now, as a fan and supporter, yeah, because you do have a pile of shame here as well. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. There's still a couple of trade paperbacks that I got that I have not read yet. Okay, so I'm just gonna put it out there. There's still a pile of shame there, but I get a satisfaction when I finally get the time to sit down and go through a whole book. It gives me a satisfaction unlike anything else. And especially when you're supporting these books as well, you're getting satisfaction. So I also, as much as I'm creating through crowdfunding, I'm also backing through crowdfunding as well.
Well, I just feel like there's just so much more energy in the indie and the crowdfunding scene than there is anywhere else right now. Like, that's where all the excitement is.
There's a lot of excitement there, and to be honest with you, the comics was a Comicsgate, right? When I heard of that, right, I didn't know too much about Comicsgate, but I had a buddy who's really close to the movement. He's like, dude, there's this thing called Comicsgate. They're like going at it against mainstream media. They do these YouTube shows, and they crowdfunding books. They're looking for people. They want to put people on, and I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? And that's when I had Lair, and I'm like, granted, I don't have no industry experience.
Right.
I'm not published, and it's not for lack of trying. I pitched a ton of great stuff out. Again, who would you liken me to? I guess I could be called like a Joe Blow if I was someone. Like, I'm a nobody.
Right.
And like, there's no guide to tell you how to break in. I'm, naive, and I thought, if I do a cool, I don't know, 5-page pitch or something, cool art, make it look top quality, pro level, I'll submit it. They'll like it because it's a cool idea, and I'll get published. Bro, was I in for a freaking rude awakening? It's nothing like that. And if you've seen Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, if you've seen Lair, if you've seen Pistolera, the stuff I put out there is top quality. Okay, it's pro quality. It could be on the shelf along with anything of the big two, and it can hold weight. Of course, I'm still developing as a writer, and I'm getting into my own. So I was wrong. I pitched the Image, I pitched the Dark Horse, and it's just hard. And I realized the way it's going to happen is just doing it yourself, and still stay doing it yourself. So that's where the crowdfunding comes in. That's where, trying to get completed books done. It's a lot of pain, as well as pleasure. But there's a lot of pain that goes into, crowdfunding. It's definitely not easy. But with the whole Comicsgate thing, I was hoping, at least with Laird, to kind of like connect. And I guess now the way the state of things are is, it's like up and down. I mean, I still use the hashtag Comicsgate.
Right.
I caught some flack for using it, because when I wanted to promote Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, one of the sites that's, mainly a big 2 site, but I'm like, comics is comics. Look at this crap. It looks good. It's capybaras. They're in space. They're bounty hunters. This deserves at least the article, even if it's a little something, just so people could see it. But again, if you got a comic site that's getting so much traffic, why do they want to give any exposure to me? Who am I? Why they're doing me a favor? Why they're going to push people to see my books to help me get funded? There's just some people that are like that. It's just sad.
Yeah.
And one of the things was, well, your thing with Comicsgate, hate group, this and that. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to build an audience. And the ideology with Comicsgate is for me anyway, I'm the type that I'm not going to cause problems. I'm not going to, look to argue or nothing like that, or cause conflict. But I do agree that the state of comics is freaking abysmal. It's as a whole, there's some great stuff, but as a whole, it's not going in the direction it should. So I thought Comicsgate would look like something to really knock them back. And then it just became more of the same. Gatekeeping, another clique, another kind of fraternity type. So it's like when you die.
I would say there's a lot of, there is a lot, unfortunately there became a lot of nonsense associated with Comicsgate, but I still feel like at the heart.
Yeah, the ideology for sure.
Yeah, I still feel at the heart of it, everybody, the real heart of it, I feel like not the people who were trying to cause drama or any of that other nonsense, but I feel like the heart of it, the people who were putting out books, the people who were backing books, the people who were reading these books, they still have that same goal in mind, and that's good comics. Good comics for like, just make good comics.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say that's all people really want in the end, like, as far as that goes, and so I still use the hashtag too. And and I caught some flack for it and whatever, but I mean, honestly, whatever. And I purposely whenever I do anything related to someone else, like if I'm tweeting anything about like Alterna Comics, and I do a lot of coverage of their stuff because I really like their stuff.
They have some great stuff.
Yeah, I love Alterna. So if I do anything with them, I just use Team Comics. I don't do, because I don't want to give Peter any more of a headache.
Is it bad to use both at once? Because I've been doing that also, because I don't know, should I just gear a Comicsgate tweet, or just get, because there's some where like I'll put like the hashtag Comicsgate Team Comics. I kind of lump them all together,
right?
Some general post, but I don't even know if they're like. Is there like a rule now? I don't know. I don't want to cause Peter flack as well. He's a great.
No, it was just kind of my own thing that I decided just on my own. If I'm gonna tweet anything about Alterna, I'm not gonna put the Comicsgate hashtag on it, just because he got so much. I mean, what happened to him was just awful.
What I know he got like that. The swatting, was one. Was there any other things that happened? I feel like he got. Then I remember the suicide or death threat type.
Well, it was prior to the swatting.
Yeah.
What happened was
he was getting a lot of flack for being associated with Comicsgate or helping them out or something.
He put out. You know what it was. What it really came down to was he announced Alterna's social media policy, and there basically what it boiled down to was he told any creator that's being published through Alterna, don't use blockchains, don't use block bots. If someone is bothering you and harassing you and giving you a real hard time online, block them, go ahead, but do it individually. Don't block thousands of people.
Right, which he makes sense because he's a distributor, publisher type thing. He doesn't want to limit anyone's audience, which makes sense.
Right, and when that happened, all of a sudden there was this giant outcry from all these people saying that he was part of Comicsgate and he's part of a hate movement and he's this and he's that. And even some of the creators, with the really ridiculous part was creators that he had published through Alterna then threw him under the bus, saying like, oh, I can't be a part of this and blah blah blah. Yeah, it was.
I would never do that to anybody that helped.
It was crazy.
My book out there. That's disgusting.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And then after that, I forget exactly how long after that was when the swatting happened.
Yeah, that I got wind of. This whole thing is sometimes it's sad as in what it is. And then even within the old Comicsgate, because again, I'm not up to date with the drama. My drama's in my house, with wife and family. I mean, that's enough drama. I don't come to Twitter to get more drama.
I agree.
I get voicing opinions. I get the whole SJW Star Wars thing. I could jump on that. The whole, if you just Marvel creating a new superhero, attaching a new race identity on it, pandering, diversity. I get all that. I'm with that. I'm all for be fresh, be original, create something new, right?
Right.
I'm with all that. So that I could, I don't mind occasional back and forth riffs on that. But like hardcore drama, the way the attention they seem to get, I can't keep up with it. I'm all about putting out my books and trying to put that energy into creating more backers for me. And I didn't know there was a big falling out. I mean, there was a time where I was trying to get on EVS's show because think about it.
Yeah, of course.
Master of masters, right? I mean, he has his industry experience, but he did something extraordinary with the YouTube and how he got his audience, and kudos to him, no doubt. There's a reason he's a genius, right? So praise where praise is due. So I had a great book, and me on that CG movement, I just wanted to get on his show. And I know it was very hard, super chat him and he'll see some stuff and he's getting bombarded with everything. And I get it. So I know there's a ton of people trying to reach out to him and they probably got good books, some probably subpar, some probably not all that. But I'm like, man, dude, trust me, because I've been rejected by publishers left and right. And it's like when you're rejected, of course it sucks. But it's like, hold up, there's this movement that's like tailor-made for me. And it's like, just check this out. Let me know what you think. And when Lair was funding, I never got that moment.
Right.
But later on, he did send out a tweet for Lair, and he's like, "Hey, I just saw this. Is really good stuff," and that made my day. I'm like, "Okay, good, some recognition." So of course, you want to get on these big stages. Not for me. I get there's a lot of money involved. I get that. I understand. I get that. And I could understand why when people say gatekeeping, how he it's like if you think about Thanos, right? You snap the finger, right? You got the Infinity Stone. So if he has he wants to push someone, granted they're going to fund their book. So maybe Grom before it's all said and done, I could get a 5-minute spot on this show. That'd be enough to hopefully get me to fund, right? I just want to fund this book. I think it's an awesome book.
Right.
But when you get mixed with the backlash and you get mixed with this and you get mixed with this loyalty where there's people like, oh, you like so-and-so's comment, but he's against me. I'm like, I can't keep up with all of that, and that's what I think hurts Comicsgate, because we were, I believe, onto something. And I feel like if we can get that magic back instead of the infighting, I mean, man, when you have something that's so great that could rival the actual, status quo, why would you want to mess that up?
Yeah, no, there was definitely it really is unfortunate, the splits that have happened and the drama and the back and forth and all that stuff, and like you said, I can't keep up with it either. I mean, listen, I work a full-time job, I have a family.
Yes,
I'm trying to do my own YouTube channel.
yes.
I don't have time for that.
Nope.
Like, so for me, like, I go out there and I look at projects and I see stuff, and something looks cool to me, I'm gonna back it, and if something looks cool to me, I'm gonna help promote it.
Nice.
And that's really the bottom line. As long as somebody's cool with me and they're not like, if I don't see them being a complete a-hole, like, I'm gonna be like, yeah, okay, we're cool. Like, I can't. This is not high school. This isn't middle school. I can't hate someone because you don't like them. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm not built from that mold. I'm just not. One interesting, because you're saying this, right? And I remember with whole Comicsgate when I was trying to get connected, Gail Simone. I don't know her. I'm not familiar with her work. I know she writes a bevy of titles.
Right.
God bless her, because I'd love to be in a position to be published by the big two more than anything, to help what's going wrong. Maybe I could just at least a few C-list superheroes I'd be, in charge of writing, because I wouldn't get up to A-list or B-list. But damn it, give me a C or D-list superhero and I'll have fun with it, right? I'm sure those I'd keep so fun, entertaining. But anyway, like, I know during the Comicsgate, there was one tweet that stood out to me, and this was when I think there was like a Nasser Rabadi was Comicsgate, and she had said something about Comicsgate and their writers. And he said, Gail, do you mean me when you say writers, that there's no writers? And of course he's prodding, right?
Right.
And I don't have that ilk. I'm not of that type to want to prod and look for arguments. And even Gail, when I was promoting Lair, she commented, she's like, this looks pretty good. Who's the artist? I'm like, I got this guy, Sebastian Navis, on it. We're crowdfunding. Maybe you want to take a look. She's like, it looks great. Good luck with the stuff. That's a generic combo. Like, I don't know your agendas. I don't know. I'm like, I'm just going to interact with you as a human being, how I would interact with anyone else. I'm going to show you respect. And when I did Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, it was someone was like pro SJW saying this and that. And then I came in like, hey, what do you got to say about this? Like, I just want to know. And then Gail said a comment. She's like, wow, that looks good. Who's the artist on that? I'm like, Gail, I don't know if you remember, but you gave us a comment last time I was crowdfunding a different book. And now I got this new book out and it's Sebastian. So, hey, check it out. Thank you. But the whole thing is that I'm not against her in any way. And I don't know if maybe other people see, wow, he's not really attacking. Or I don't know if that's part of the mantra to be like kind of included during the boon of the whole CG thing. But I remember when I was trying to get featured and stuff. And I was, come on, man. As a creator, I've been around. Granted, I'm not known, right? But I'm getting there. I got my titles under my belt. I'm delivering on my projects, and I got some cool looking stuff. So I like to say I'm getting there. I'm on the come up, right? So being that I wasn't featured, I was a little salty. I'm gonna be straight up. And then I put out a tweet, and I'm like, Comicsgate. I'm like, it sounds more like comics fake to me. And I did the hashtag, and it's like people. It was creating buzz. Oh, this and that. Like, I'm like, I get it. No one owes me anything, and I get that. But I'm like, I got a good quality book, and if you guys are really about putting out some good stuff out there, it's only natural I'm gonna be burned that I'm not, getting the attention that I'm saying. Right. lesser books getting pushed on. Okay, like that was just something I put out there. And then I remember Nasser. He's like, "Then I must be comics fake for having you on my show." And I love it because Nasser's kind of going at me, and of course I'm not looking for confrontation, but I'm gonna be real. I'm like, "Hey Nasser, I wouldn't say that you're comics fake." I'm like, there were times, when on the streams that I was able to make where we had some great talks after the show about your book, for about an hour or so. So, like we had a good time. I wouldn't say you're comics fake. And like I leave it at that. And then, so people know where I'm coming from. So at the end of the day, it's good to be a creator. It's good to create, but I feel like there should be more camaraderie within us as a community, and we should cut the nonsense out because, again, the real strong projects, they're going to sustain. If anyone's just coming in from the street and they're like, "Hey, I want to be confiscated, check my book." Okay, cool. Let's see what you got. And
right.
If it stands up and if it holds up, put it to the audience, because at the end of the day, the people, if they want to back a book, they want to back it. But think about if they don't know a book exists and you have the power to just expose it to some more people that just want to look for themselves. No one's saying, "Hey, if I share, Jam Creates a YouTube channel with my audience, I'm going to lose subscribers." What are you talking about? Like, you're just more content. At the end of the day, it's just showing that there's more stuff out there. And that's where I guess the whole gatekeeping thing comes with CG, where it's just like, want to limit some or not. But
yeah,
it's sad that it gets there.
I was going to say, I do feel like, it's funny because I've seen people go in both directions with, whether or not they get on Ethan's show or if they get on maybe like Malin's show or somebody else's show. It's funny because I've seen people take it one of two ways. Like, go, listen, I know he's getting hit up every day. I know he's getting hit up constantly. So it is what it is. If I get on, great. If I don't, all right, I got to make it work.
On hustle either way. Like, you got to hustle either way.
And then I've seen other people who literally have just thrown a fit by not being included on Ethan's show or anything. There was the British couple, who had their whole thing that they just lost their damn minds.
I think because they thought like they should be included just because they got the CG hashtag. And guess what? If he's the figurehead of the movement, right? All you could do is just ask. You're not entitled, right? He could put his best buddy on and that book could be pushed to whatever. That's his prerogative. He don't owe you anything. Now, at the same time, you can reach out to him. The way I tried reaching out was through super chats. I must have put over $100 and saying, "Hey, Ethan, check out Lair." And he was a class act to at least read there was never a super chat that he ignored. He at least will comment on it. Maybe he didn't comment on it long enough for one. And I could have been pushing a little bit hard because, again, for me, I've been pushing comics so Lair was my first rodeo, at least to people that see me at Comicsgate. But I had successfully crowdfunded Lair on Kickstarter. Then I had 2 other successful Kickstarters for Under the Flesh. So it wasn't like my first rodeo. But at the same time, I wasn't gonna blast, Ethan for that. I said that I when I had that little issue, I attacked Comicsgate, the ideology.
Right.
I'm like, hey, if it's really supposed to be about this, I don't think so, because for me, I'm not seeing where it should be about that. But I didn't say anything saying, "Ethan, you should have me on my show. Why don't you be on? You suck." I'm not going to do that because, again, that's not my style. But I will voice my opinion in a respectful way that says, yeah, if this is comics, it's more like comics fake to me. And it just, and it's funny because some of the same people that were like, "No, don't say that. Just recently with this whole turn of events, I've been saying Comicsgate ain't what it is. I'm off Comicsgate. I'm like, wow. The same people, when I made my little comics fake thing back then last year, I don't know if I was one of the first ones on that movie, that idea that, hey, this isn't what it seems. But some people that were like kind of hitting me up there, they're like, yeah, you know what? It isn't what it is. And it's sad. But anyway, it's you, in this industry, no matter what, no one owes you anything. These people are heavy hitters. They're powerhouses. They've been in the industry. I get it. You gotta earn your respect. Antonio Bryce, he has an awesome book out, Brand. Kari Press. He was the first one from Comicsgate that put me on his show. And I just reached out to him like anybody else would. And I showed him Lair. And I kid you not. Okay. The instant I showed him Lair, he DM'd me back so fast. He's like, "What are you doing tonight?" I'm like, holy shoot. He's like, listen, you got to understand. The people that hit me up, their work is crap or their work isn't as good. No. He like their work wasn't that great.
Right.
Like, your stuff is pro quality. Like, dude, you earned that. And he put me on the show, and we had a great time. It was a good chemistry. It was genuine, and we talked from everything, man. He's a great dude, and I love being on his show. I'll never forget that he gave me one of the first I guess nods you can say, or boosts or pushes. So got a lot of love for him. And then Malin put me on the show twice, and then through Galactic Rodents of Mayhem on my birthday. Not that I was asking for a birthday gift to be put on the show, but it just turned out that way, and I was able to be on the show for a half hour. I wanted to be more, and stay on the show, but again, birthday, you got stuff with family and stuff. I was able to squeeze in a half hour, so I might have to harass him to get on again. But he's a cool dude as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know the whole loyalty game. I don't like. Again, I saw a tweet from him that he's like, oh, I don't like when people talk about loyalty, but then you're liking people that are attacking EVS and Tug. And like I said, Tug, I follow him, he follows me, and he gave me some great advice when I just started my YouTube channel. I think he's an amazing dude. But again, I'm not that close. I just know it as from a peer standpoint, right? He got a good book. Hey, I respect what he does. Okay, great. But there's someone that also reviewed 2 of my books, and they gave me good reviews, and I think Pocket Jacks is their name. And for some reason, he got a thing going on with EVS. I guess he's one of those that if they're upset or they couldn't get on their show for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I follow him. He treated me good. And sometimes I'm scrolling down Twitter. I won't read every single thing, but I'll just see, boom, and I might like it just to show like, hey, you know what? I like your stuff,
People put way too much stock in in a like on Twitter. Like,
I'm scared though. You don't get it because I liked it, and I think I like one that I think is this is where I'm thinking too hard, man. I'm sorry, Jam, if I'm thinking too hard. But Malin was like, for those who like it, and I'm like, shit, I don't know. Like, I might have liked. I know I like some of Pocket Jack's tweets. Was it one of the ones that he didn't like? I'm like, Malin put me on the show. Like, is this gonna hurt me for trying to be on the show again? And then I put a tweet to Malin. I'm like, hey, Malin, just understand, bro, that I appreciate being on your show. Believe that from heart to heart, I do. And I especially take the advice that you said, steer clear of the outside noise, because he did say that. And I'm like, that's me, so if, I appreciate you. And then he's like, I'm like, don't take things personal. He's like, I won't. And he replied, I won't. And then he put like Al Pacino, how he kisses, it was his Godfather.
In The Godfather, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's a popular meme. But then in the movie, there's a connotation. It's a kiss of death. So I'm like, is this a double meaning? I'm like, I'm not even responding to the double meaning. I'm like, I'm going to leave it. I said I might hit him up a little down the campaign line if I see if he can get me back on. But I don't know. I just left it. But I'm like, Malin sounds like the guy. He'd do a double, he'd give you a tweet with double meaning.
Right.
I'm just like, dude, I'm not putting stock into this. I respect everybody. If that bothers people, that I'm like a chameleon. I get along with the people that hate everybody else. I'm like that spy. Like if, you have like the Transformers, right, and the Decepticons. Right. I'm that one dude that's cool with the Decepticons, but that's equally cool with the Transformers. So when they're going at it, it's just like, it's hard for me to pick sides, but I'm just like, guys, just stop destroying yourselves. Like that's how I am.
Well, that's how dude. That's how I feel about the whole, like, with this whole, like, there's so many, I don't even know. There's like so many different factions now in terms of Comicsgate that I can't keep track. And I know, like, I'll see people reference other people, and I'm like, I don't know. This person's always been cool to me, so I'm still gonna be cool with them. Like,
for sure. Like,
unless somebody's a dick to me, I'm not gonna worry about it.
I can't, and I'm gonna still try to be getting on Ethan's show. I'm just gonna do it through the Galactic Rodents of Mayhem naturally,
right? And
hopefully, someone will say, "Hey, Ethan, check this out." I might, at him once in a while. I don't want to bombard the guy.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I might do it, but just recently,
Well, no, I was just saying, and I also think the super chat thing, it works because everybody's still watching.
I just got to find when he's on, because I definitely got a super chat him.
He's got thousands of people watching a stream.
No, he's amazing.
So even if all he does is just read your super chat, I know for me, like, I've heard super chats of people saying, "Hey, check out blah 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 blah, just launched on IndieGoGo." I'll be like, oh, okay, let me see what that is. Yeah.
That's the thing. I gotta get on when he's doing a live stream. I'm subscribed to his channel. I don't know when his latest stream was. Me with grinding in this, getting trying to push it out, trying to just send tweets out, fulfillment on my Pistoleta campaign. It's like I miss a lot of stuff, but that's a good way. So I definitely got to get into the super chat game a little bit harder because it worked, and I appreciate the fact that he stops and listens to everyone and will read that. So that's great because I don't know if he's still doing that. But I know that you'll super chat them and they'll just never get to it. So, I'm putting money in your pocket for groceries. The least you could do is read the super chat. I mean, at least that. So, I respect his game in that sense. And just recently, I don't know if you're familiar with Sweetcast.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know much of this person. I don't know them that well initially. But then I saw that they launched a campaign, Downcast. I checked it out. I backed it because it looked pretty cool. I'm like, I like this guy's style.
Yeah, it looks like a good book.
It looks like a great book, good book. I'm like, I like this guy's style. So I followed him. He followed me and whatnot. And cool. And, that's it, right? So just 2 days ago, my cousin, he hits me up on WhatsApp and he's like, dude, so they're talking about you. They're good stuff. You're finally getting up there. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you don't know? I'm like, no. He sent me a YouTube video, Sweetcast, and he was with Vaughn, Eric Weathers, Brendan Camp, who has his book, and then the Door Kickers campaign, Scott.
Okay.
So they were all on there, and they were doing a nice little live stream. But it was coming towards a tail end. They were about to wrap it up, and someone, I think it was, I can't remember the name, but I tweeted them, and I said thank you, and I put a screenshot on my Twitter feed. I'm like, hey, thank you, because if you never mentioned this super chat or mentioned this tweet, like I would have never got the praise that these guys gave me. And he's like, hey guys, when are you gonna have Gilly on Galactic Rodents of Mayhem? And then right there, Clint, Sweetcast, he's like, okay, yeah, let's talk about this because he backed the book. And man, just the positive vibes and the praise that they were heaping on me, like it literally like almost brought like a tear to my eye because they saw the hard work that I'm putting out there. They see the appreciation for a good book and a promising book. And Clint, if I remember, he was like, taking a jab at IDW, forgive us, right? But this is what he said. He said, like, this book, Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, he's like, I read it. It's fun. This is why I backed it. I want to see this fun because I want this book genuinely. And then he's like, but look at the cover. Look at the artwork. This is good stuff. He's like, this is like better than 75% of the stuff that IDW is putting out. And just the fact that he said that for me, like there was a lot of great stuff they were saying, but it shows something when a peer can say something really genuine and honest about your stuff, and it'd be great, without you having to be the one to talk it up.
Right.
Someone's like equally excited. So if I can kind of get that energy, and maybe someone like of an EVS's stature can see it, maybe that could be a good push. Because at the end of the day, I do want to get this book funded. And I know it's a high goal. I know it's $15K, but it's reasonable. And even as the guys were saying it, Clint was like, yeah, this is reasonable for the production we're getting, for the team that I got behind. And literally it's for the artwork and for printing a small amount of books, like 300 copies. I figured that's what my audience is right now.
Right.
That's not printing it, not shipping it. That's
right.
Or if it just makes that, like, I'm gonna have to bite that bullet, but it's a small price being paid to get it funded. But I want to get these guys, the pay rate for their services because it's well deserved. And the pitch that I'm putting out to the public and I'm putting out to you guys. I mean, we even have a theme song, for goodness sake.
Yeah, the theme song's amazing, by the way.
Dude, we got a great. This is like, I envisioned everything. It's fun. It's gonna be awesome. The book itself is like 104 pages, right? And I want to say 80% of that is kind of like this cat and mouse chase. And you're probably wondering, how could a chase scene go that long? I made it go that long. And I found a way to do it in a way where you're still getting story, you're still getting drama, you're still feeling the characters. It's not just, like fluff.
Right.
So there's a lot going on. And this is my most biggest ambitious goal yet. So it's just like, there's a reason why, I want to get this funded where people, will be getting something special, but you're just hoping, the traffic, the exposure could get you out there because it's something special.
I was going to say, I do think for sure that you are going to get funded on this book because You know, the minute I saw it, and it's funny because I missed out on Lair. I actually went to go back it, and it was already over.
Yeah.
And then I already backed Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, and I backed the level that gets me all 3 of your books.
Yeah. Awesome.
Because I was like, no, like when I saw, because as soon as I saw the artwork, and then somebody, even in the chat, somebody Mango Bed 717 said they just checked out the IndieGoGo page. Holy smokes, the artwork is amazing. Like, you know,
thank you. Yeah.
when I saw that's what I thought when I saw the artwork. I was like, this looks freaking sick. Like, what is this? And then I read the title. Like I said, I saw the title, and I'm like, that is the greatest title. And then, like, when you put out the theme song, I was like, this could not be, like, I felt like you were making this thing just for me. Like,
like, hey, that's the energy, that's the excitement I want readers to have, because that's how much I had making it. And if you guys can relate to it in that way, you're gonna have fun with the book. It's not, I know we're in this political landscape with comics. What I want to show is that, listen, we can make great stuff, and it doesn't have to be about anything else but true to the story. You know what I mean? Like, I know we're in this Me Too movement, or we're in this, you know, LGBTQT sensitivity. I get all that, but not everything has to be done in a way where, well, how could I identify it? How could I identify it? Well, how could it relate to me? Just read the story, and you're going to see characters that have characteristics similar to you. Not everything has to be about that. You know, you can still feel a connection towards a good work without making it about that. And that's what I wanted to do, was to show, hey, there's still power in comics. I get back in the days, Captain America, I get the movement around. I get that. And maybe because of the movement nowadays and how things are so uber sensitive, maybe we're getting a push towards this fun era of comics, even if it has to be done through crowdfunding, to show, like, yeah, this is actually done. Even though it's fun, it's still, you know, a result of its epoch, you know, of its era. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, everything, I mean, books can be fun, and books can tell, like, action adventure stories, and they don't have to have any of the political nonsense. And the characters literally could be, I'm gonna guess, 6 foot tall capybaras, and you can still relate to them, even though they're giant rodents.
Yes,
You could still relate to them. It's the same way millions of people related to the Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
They were, you know, 5'2" talking turtles.
Making my hair stand on its end. You're giving me chills because you're speaking gospel truth right now.
Well, that's what you know. You can relate to these characters. They don't listen. I like I said, Leonardo is my favorite turtle. I don't look like Leonardo.
Yeah. I'm not a freaking gadgetry genius like Donatello was. That's the least thing I can do. I can't put stuff together, but I don't know, something about him, and that he can do that and still be a badass and still be just who he was, I don't know why I gravitated towards Donatello.
Well, and that was the thing for comics in general. Just, you know, everybody related to when Stan Lee sat down to write Spider-Man. He wrote Spider-Man as a teenager because he expected that teenagers would be reading the book. And he wrote him as someone who had problems in his life, because he assumed most teenagers would be able to read this character and relate to a character who is struggling with a bully at school, struggling with a family life at home that maybe isn't perfect. And then on top of all that, he gets the superpowers and has to deal with all the responsibility that goes along with having the power. That was what Stan did. It didn't matter, like, oh, well, no, he's from New York. He's 5'6" or whatever he is. He's a white kid from Queens. So only 5'6" white kids from Queens will relate to this character. No,
dude.
Everyone relates to him.
He's a great character. He's one. I'm telling you, he's my second favorite character, because Batman's my favorite, but Batman's DC, right? So when it comes to my favorite Marvel character, guess what? Spider-Man is it. I love Spider-Man, and just all the points you said, just it echoes that anybody can relate to him. You know, even people, if you come from a broken home, guess what? You don't have a dad. Guess what? You know, Spider-Man didn't have a dad, right?
Right.
May, this old frail lady can't even take care of him. You know, like, she had words of wisdom. He respected that, right? Uncle Ben died, right? He got the responsibility. Hey, What are you going to do? Are you going to be reckless, or are you going to save people that could be like in your situation? And he's a pinnacle of one of the best characters ever.
It's just everybody now seems to want to write everything just completely on the nose, and there's just no nuance or anything. Like the X-Men were so popular for so many years because who hasn't at some point or another in their life felt like an outsider?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has. Even if it's just for a small portion of your life, everyone has felt at some point like they were an outsider, like no one understood them. Mm-hmm. And that's what the X-Men were. And then suddenly nowadays, everything has to be like completely on the nose. Everything must be exactly the same, or no one's going to be able that those people can't relate to that. And it just makes no sense.
Mm-mm. And you're pandering to that, and you're getting stuck in a loophole where you're creating content that's not challenging, that's not engaging. It's just cut and paste, same old stuff, more pandering.
Well, and it's all edge. I was gonna say, and it's also, who is it appealing to? If you're limiting your appeal to an audience of 12 people in the world, you're not going to sell a whole lot of comics.
They're not. And here's the thing too, on top of that, they're banking on the brand, right? Disney, Marvel, that's a brand. And the sad truth is, when they made the Little Mermaid black, right?
Uh-huh.
Am I gonna watch the movie? Yeah, of course. And I'm watching it because I love sharks. I just want to see the freaking nasty great white shark. I hope I want to see what they're gonna do with Ursula, because I just thought a half human, half octopus freaking thing is amazing. But aside from that, I love The Little Mermaid. I love the original story. I love Ariel. You making her black, is that like an issue? It's just like you created her a certain way, and us as a childhood, right? Think about it. With Lion King, okay, I get it. They're animals. But what was it? Aladdin, right? They kind of they didn't shake things up too much. What's the shake up here? And you have the brand, you have the name. People are gonna go watch it regardless. So you can play this crap game, and people that hate the move are still going to go to the movies and watch it, and you're making your money. It's not like you can buy something and return it at Walmart and get your money back. No, once you buy the movie ticket, that's it. So it's like, if we see this like Star Wars, I hate it. You're going to watch it because it's Star Wars, and they got you. They got you sink, line, hook. You're baited, man. You're never going to stop watching Star Wars unless I don't know what happens. But guess what? Now the third one looks like Raid Stark. It's like this whole thing is going to fit. Everything that didn't make sense in the first two are going to make sense. But guess what? What are you doing? You're just shitting on them. Sorry. You're just crapping on. I get so passionate, man.
It's okay.
It's like you're so invested, right? And us as fans are so invested. And then you toy with our feelings, right? This craply, badly put together storyline you got going for the Force Awakens, and then at the end you try to put a Band-Aid on it. How are you going to put a Band-Aid over a gaping wound that's oozing blood? Like, a Band-Aid ain't going to fix that. And it's like, but that's the thing. You can do that because you're Marvel, right? Because you're Disney, because every one of their mothers are going to watch Star Wars. It's going to make the money. So guess what? You already got the money in the bank. So guess what? Now you want to play a little fan service. Like, okay, you know what? She's going to be bad. We're going to tie everything together. How are you going to tie? You just created a mess. And it just shows that this is the type of practice that's going to be continuing. How's it going to stop? Granted, there's some cool Star Wars looking stuff coming out. The Mandalorian looks interesting.
Right.
I don't think they can mess that up. So you know what I'm saying? Like, it's up and down, man. And of course, you're not appealing to the people you want to appeal to, but you're playing the politics, and we're getting upset, but you're still making money. But I don't see them changing anything until it's like this revolutionary decline. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, there's going to have to be.
Yeah, to see any of these movies where they're expecting a big bump. Like, let's just say no one saw Star Wars in the movie theaters that are really this upset. Let's say they didn't go. And opening weekend, instead of making, what do they usually make? 350 million or something like that. Let's just say they made 80 million. That would be like a holy what the freak moment.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, they'll make their money overseas, but still, that would just kind of get the point across. I don't know if we'll see that moment. I don't know if we're getting close to that.
Yeah, I don't know if. Well, it's funny because Solo did not do what they were hoping for.
Because it's like, you can't do it. Man, you got to respect your customers. You got to respect the fans. me that I write comics, right? I'm so surprised by the intelligence of comic book fans and readers, right? They're smart, dude. You don't pull the wool over their eyes. That's not going to work. If you got to create a story, you got to do your best because these people are on their P's and Q's. And I get it. When you have an audience so vast, not everyone's going to be happy. And there's a fine line you got to play, but you still got to stay true to a vision. Now, again, Disney's not playing to visions. They're playing to politics. They're playing to pandering to this, to that. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's hard. I don't know. I feel like the only way things could shake up is with new blood. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
feel like new blood is where you get things shaken up. When you got directors that did the same movies here, the same movies there, it's just like, it's hard to see any kind of change. And I feel like new blood can always get some great change.
Well, I feel like with as far as Star Wars goes, I feel like this whole sequel trilogy, the fact that they didn't have an overarching plan for it to be like they didn't have an overall storyline for a trilogy.
It's a mess.
They literally just said, "Okay, JJ, you do Force Awakens. Then we'll have Rian Johnson write Last Jedi, and then it was originally going to be Colin Trevorrow doing the third, Episode 9." But they had no overarching outline for where it was supposed to go or anything like that. Meanwhile, the first 6 movies were all out of the head of one dude, and
specific.
And he had a plan. Mm-hmm. And you can say whatever you want about the prequels or whatever, but he had a plan.
Even though we might not like the prequels, right? He did have a plan. You got to respect him for that. He executed his vision, right? Because that was his story, and we respect that, right?
Right. And there is none for the new movies.
That's a problem. And that's what I'm saying, where we're seeing this, and it's like it's habitual. And I don't see it as it's going to stop. With the Marvel movies, that's another one that got me concerned. But at the same time, I'm not too concerned because Spider-Man, right? If he's not back in the MCU, guess what? He's still a powerful character in his own right. I am going to be upset because let's say if that deal isn't worked out, right? We're not going to see Nick Fury and the Spider-Man interaction, which I think is a cool interaction. Who was it? Tony Stark's his right-hand man, the Jon Favreau, right?
Right.
We're not going to see the cool arc between Jon Favreau and Aunt May. We'll see the next Spider-Man movie, and they'll just be like, what happened to him? Oh, they won't even bring him up. He probably just,
right.
Text message. It'll be something so cheap. And it's just like, but again, these are small elements because Spider-Man overall is a robust world that can go on and on, especially with Venom and everything. So I feel like if Spider-Man's a key, if they lose that, who's the face of Marvel going forward, right? Captain Marvel, I'm sorry. And it's not that I'm misogynist or not. Listen, there's powerful female characters at work. And a lot of my favorite characters in movies and video games are female characters. Sarah Connor, Ellen Ripley, Jill Valentine from Resident Evil, right? Like there's a Samus Aran, Metroid. There's a litany of powerful female characters in storytelling mediums that can get it done. But then we're seeing, okay, Lady Thor, I didn't read the arc too much, so it may be good. I don't know. But now you got all female Avengers. Now you're playing this game, and it's just, are we gonna watch for the to see what they're gonna do, or just they're still gonna be making their money? So again, we're at a weird state of entertainment right now for the big Marvel and DC brand.
Yeah, I do think as far as like the Marvel stuff goes, like for whatever reason, I was actually talking about this last night with Sean Davis, who's doing Pillowman and Blanket Boy, nice. and their obsession with pushing the character of Captain Marvel, I just don't understand. Mm-hmm. They've been doing it now for years, even before the movie, with putting her in the movie. They've been doing it with the comic. I mean, they've rebooted that comic about 12 times.
They can't even get that right.
And no one wants it. It's clear that no one wants it.
But they're forcing it. And it's not, it's like, here's the thing, it hurts sales, right? And then this whole thing, you can't have a female-led book, and you can't, or diversity is killing sales. You could go whatever you want, but the fact of the matter is, when you put out stuff that people are not crazy about, they're not going to get hyped about it. There's still some other stories, like Jonathan Hickman stories, right, that I'm sure do fairly well. There's a balance. I mean, Captain Marvel, and not to say she can't be a great character, but when you see something's not working, don't force it down. What's this? Miss Marvel. That's another one too, right? I genuinely try to enjoy the first one. I bought it. I'm like, hey, Muslim superhero. Me, my wife is Arab, right? She's Arab American, but in her circle, she's Christian and everything. But in her circles, they have friends that are Muslim. And through that relationship, I was able to break bread with a lot of Muslim people, hang out, weddings, dinners, get together. So I know my fair share of Muslim culture and being a part of that type of, people. I've been around that. So I'm like, I'm genuinely excited. I bought the first issue and I'm reading it, and it just felt off. It was like paper mache. It was just like, it wasn't something solid. It wasn't like I can get behind this. They even had one line about infidel meat. I'm like, what the freaking hell is this, dude? I'm like, and I think they had a Muslim writer on it, I believe.
Yeah, they did.
But still, dude, I don't know. She's not, dude. It seemed so fabricated. It just didn't seem like cool for me anyway. And I tried, and that's the thing. I can honestly say I tried, and I never got the second issue. I never followed it. I still got that first issue. If somehow it becomes worth something, that'll be great for me. But now they're talking about her replacing Spider-Man. Are you joking? She can't even replace a Spider-Man shaped light bulb. How are you going to put her to replace Spider-Man? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how far they're stretching her powers. Would be able to stretch that far? Because they're reaching with that title. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No. It's funny because a lot of people will try to, when you say like, well, Ms. Marvel is not a good book, it doesn't sell well, they'll start going, well, you just don't like it because it's a female-led book and it's not aimed at a like, no. Honestly, I said all along, like I said from the beginning when they launched that title, I'm like, actually, this is a good idea. If you can launch a book that's aimed at like a teenage girl audience, that would help expand your audience of people reading. I mean, it's going to have to be written differently.
Right.
It maybe not be exactly like the regular comics that everyone else is reading, but that's okay because I can look at that and go, well, no, that's the one they make for the teenage girls. That's fine. But then when you make that book and then you just load it with like politics and political rants and all this other nonsense, who's going to have what teenage girl wants to read that? Teenage girls want to read stories about like, if they're going to read a superhero book, they want to read like, they want like relationship issues to be in there. They still want the superhero bit, but they might want it from just slightly different angle.
But that's why a lot of them piggyback on manga and anime. So they're supporting a lot of that. There's stories there that they'll support. Captain Marvel with the whole political thing might not be one of them.
Yeah, no, it's just a mess the way they went about that. Let's I want to jump into, I'm going to share the screen and show the campaign off so we can show some of this amazing art we got here.
Yeah.
Let me just share my screen, Chrome tab.
Good idea with the whole, maybe I got to write a teenager books are centered around a female character. I like a challenge, man. I'll show them that, but then they might say, what? I'm not qualified.
That's true. You're not allowed to write that. And
I'll counter back with, are you limiting, the boundaries of a writer? You can't limit their boundaries, right? You can't do that.
They would like to. Okay, so here's the campaign. Right now, you're at 3,284, 82 backers. You got 48 days left, so plenty of time left. Yeah. And this just right off the bat. Now, this was, you said, was your old cover.
Yeah, that's the kind of retro cover right there. That was the old cover. It still looks cool. It has that.
It does.
There was a Star Wars influence in there from the New Hope, the original poster. So we kind of like went that off as a basis and added to it.
And now this
would have never. This is what I like challenging myself. I told Sebastian, I'm like, we need to do a new image. I'm like, we just need to. I want it to be for the campaign, something like that has more pop. And he had a more action-oriented one, and then he had this one. And I was kind of leaning more towards the action, but the team, the letter reminds Dave. He's like, no, let's go with this one. And I'm looking, I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying. Because then again, they're going to get a lot of action in the book.
Right.
Seeing them in a badass way, just chill, calm, and we leave the action in the background. With the Burning Rose, that's our flagship. That's our Millennium Falcon, like evading some lasers and shooting some stuff. So with him, I'm like, I want a manhole in the cover. I want them in the foreground, right? Maybe have one in the background, but also I want it to be a futuristic city landscape with the spaceships in the back. So you get the feel that it's like Star Warsy, and
right.
like kind of also, again, we know it's not Ninja Turtles, but it's paying homage to that kind of stuff. It's like, if you like that, you'll like this.
Now, it's funny because when I first saw this, I think this was the first bit of art that I saw. And when I first saw this, first of all, like I said, as soon as I saw it, I was like, yes, please. And then looking at it, and I've looked at this art a bit now, I've been looking at it, and the character in the foreground, looking at it almost makes me think of like Gears of War.
Yeah.
Like with the shoulder pads on and the armor.
Like, and I'm gonna be honest, you're gonna find a lot of video game references in here, and it's subconscious. Because Sebastian, he's a big Gears of War fan. Me, I like Mass Effect, and if you see the second character, that's Ripple, he has what kind of looks like an Omniblade.
Right.
I like to call it like a Digiblade. And my thing is, there'll be swords, there'll be this, there'll be that. Okay, cool. But I kind of wanted something that's kind of like a lightsaber, but it's not a lightsaber. It's this thing that it's like, and they'll have different shapes, it'll be, you're going to see. I'm just going to say, you're going to see there's a crap ton of references in there. This costume, right? Like they had like, this was all Gears of War type inspired, I guess. Because I said, Sebastian, I'm like, dude, this is like some special ops stuff. He's like, yeah. He's like, that could be for when they're doing special missions. I'm like, great. Now we know what they're wearing at the end of the book. Like, no, dude, this is fun, man. I'm telling you, this is going to be really special. Oh,
now the other thing, what's really funny is at least for me now, looking at some of the art, there was one bit, like this whole bit here, where you see them at this, like, I'm assuming it's an auction.
Yeah.
Just seeing this whole, like, really gave me a strong, like, Cowboy Bebop vibe.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm being straight up. I promise you on my life. We talked about Pile of Shames, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a DVD Pile of Shame. Okay? Cowboy Bebop is one of those that I just love the idea of Cowboy Bebop. It's just space, it's like a space opera. I bought the DVD. I saw maybe at least halfway through the first episode. I don't know. I don't know what was going on in my life. I never finished it.
Right.
But my artist, I want to say, he saw more than me, and he's projecting a vibe in there. I don't know what he's doing, but there's a vibe there. And if the auction gave you that vibe, his idea was like, hey, let's do a pitch, 3 pages, and it's like a separate story. And I'm like, okay, how about we do, they're at an auction, and where's you going to show how they got the Burning Rose ship to begin with? He's like, yeah, that's cool. So we did the 3 pages, and this is what you got. So it shows like an introduction to the characters and to them as a team, and also the universe with this story. And just how you said the Cowboy Bebop, like, there's the color style as well. We kind of wanted to capture that kind of vibe as well. So you're gonna love this book if at all, this type of thing, sci-fi, anthropomorphic, stuff gets you. Someone, I think Clint Stoker, he was like, it has like this Guardians of the Galaxy vibe. Like, if you like any of that stuff, you're gonna be right at home. It's fun, it's fresh, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I could definitely see the Guardians vibe to it too. It's definitely like this panel right here in the middle with him piloting the ship.
I love that.
Is just like, to me, it is like 100% Cowboy Bebop. That is like first of all, I love Bebop. I've watched it over and over. I absolutely love Cowboy Bebop.
I gotta do my damn service, because I just gotta have some references in mind going into volume 2 and 3 if this thing ever gets that traction. But yeah, tell me why.
But it's very much, when you watch the series, the way when Spike gets into his ship, he has that little fighter that he has. It's not they have their ship, the big ship, and then he's got his little fighter that he uses. And when he's piloting that thing, like, he's leaning forward, he's got the 2 grips and everything. It looks very much like what he's in the seat here piloting. and it just has that feel. And it just also because it to me, it just reminds me of like they're wearing the suits. They've got like, it just, the whole thing just gives me that vibe of like this cool Cowboy Bebop kind of vibe to it.
He caught it. He with that, that's him right there. Because the ship, that's him. When I gave him the story and we were coming up with ideas, there's things that I'm creating that he's bringing to life. And then there's stuff that he's creating, that he's bringing to life. All I did with the Burning Rose was agree to the name. And I think I did like a Twitter thing. And I'm like, give me names. And someone's like, the Burning Rose. And I'm like, Rosie. Burning Rose. We'll call her Rosie. I love it. And his design, he created a design. Some people said the ship itself has like a capybara face. I'm like, hey, then that was, if you're catching that.
I'm sure I could see that.
That was intentional. And that was Sebastian right there. So and then you also said about mini fighters. Yeah, we have like, the Burning Rose is going to have like mini cruisers that it shoots out that they can pilot. It's just, you're in for a treat, as I'm going to say. We're going to be producing this. If this gets funded, we're going to have a lot of updates, page-to-page stuff. It's going to be a hell of a damn book. And you're already catching the subtle references to Cowboy Bebop or to like video game culture, Star Fox references. Like I said, there's a crap ton of references in there. Like we're paying little nods. So it just happens. It happens in movies right now that's going on. You'll get like a little nod.
Sure.
You get those tips of the hats to a lot of these franchises that influenced me growing up. And we do it in a cool, classy way that's not ripping anything off, but doing it while putting our fingerprint on it.
It just, like I said, when I saw this whole thing, like I said, I saw that first bit of art. And then when I saw these pages, I was like, this is just shaping up to be everything I want. Like I could just,
I'm glad because it's fun for me. I wanted that too. Like it's being created because I feel like, hey, we're missing that and we need that in some shape or form because I'm not getting it from Star Wars, because I'm not getting it from the Ninja Turtles right now, because I kind of miss that fun. And I feel like comic books, here's the thing, I get video games we're up against, I get movies we're up against, and comics can only do so much, but don't limit a damn comic because there's power behind a comic. They say an image is worth 1,000 words, right? A comic book with a panel across all these pages, you're getting a lot of story told. You're getting a lot of powerful imagery. There's a lot going on with a comic that can challenge you, that can really produce a good narrative. And I see them as cinematic blueprints because I feel like if you get to a good TV show, if you get to a good movie, guess what? A comic book is the embodiment of that. In a new form, but where you get all these cool shows to come from, right? I mean, Game of Thrones came off a novel, right? But then you got like The Boys on Amazon, like
right,
a graphic novel. There's so many stuff coming off graphic novels because it's a powerful medium. Our book, it's not standard. Was it 6 3/4 by 10 or whatever, like the standard comic book? Our book is literally going to be 9.5 by 11.5.
Really?
Yep, it's going to be big. Okay, you're going to get lost because like you open that book with these panels are huge. You're going to get lost in the story. It's going to be real powerful. It's a special book. It's like that. That's why it got to 100 pages. I couldn't do it as like floppies. I'm like, you know what? Bigger is better. And I said, I want to do this in a 100-page book. And that's how, if we get to second and third volume, that's how I'd like to put them out.
Well, that's like at that point, I mean, I think that's cool because I feel like at that point, each one is like a giant event.
Yeah. That's like Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings, right? Fantasy, right? But I loved it because it was a trilogy, right? You had the first movie and it was, 3 hours long. Okay. But you got lost. I escaped, I was on that journey, and then you got, another event. Then they each have their own stories, but they're into like this cataclysmic event towards the last and third trilogy, and something with trilogies I love. So if I can do that in comic book form, but through graphic novels, because I get the floppies, the ongoing, I get that. But for me, they could work, right? But I'm of the mindset where I like binge watching my TV shows. So I kind of like, even my reading experiences, I like binge watching my reading experiences, especially with comics books. Like I would pick up a book every month. You got to wait. You read it. It's great. But then like you put it aside and just left with that until the next book comes out. Okay, great. Now I don't just read issue 2. I read 1 over again and issue 2. because then there's some, you just want to get back into it. Then you put it aside again. Then the book gets a little delayed because whatever. Then it gets whatever. But for me, it's just it's too frenetic. It's fragmented. I need completion. I like the whole piece, right? So that's where my mind was more gravitating towards one shots and then towards like these big novels, because for me, I feel like it's a great reading session. You sit down, say you got 2 hours, you got a hefty book in your hand. You'll read it maybe in about an hour, and it's going to be a nice experience. It's not going to be like, okay, like there's, it'll end where it can keep on going, but I feel like that leaves for a great reading experience.
Yeah. Well, you'll get like, you'll go through the whole thing. You'll have a true beginning, middle, and end, and you'll read the entire thing, and then you'll close it. You'll have that moment of same thing like when you read a novel or anything else. You'll have that moment of you read the final words, you close the book, and you just sit there for a minute and just like revel in what you just finished.
Yeah.
And that I think is one of the things that the crowdfunding books allows that normal comic publishing doesn't.
And that's why I love crowdfunding, and I love the ones that do like these big page books, because for that reason, like you get something and you know what, it might take a while for you to get it, but trust me, when you get it, it's like a surprise. Like there's books that I've crowdfunded and I genuinely forgot because I'm just not looking at the updates. But guess what? I'll see like this package in the mail. I'm like, oh, that was that book. I'm like, okay, I'm just in heaven. I'm like, okay, great, So I kind of wanted to do that with my books and just show, because I know some people, they're like, hey, how long will it take to get it done? We got a big project here. If we get this funded, it's going to take a while. But guess what? You're going to be getting updates as it goes. And we even have a stretch goal where, hey, if we get this as a stretch goal, guess what? We have the financial flexibility where, the artist, Sebastian, he could take a sabbatical and just focus on Grom. He could take a couple weeks off from the office, from what he does, and just focuses on doing some pages, because we got that financial flexibility in for him where he's not, he's putting out more stuff in the little bit of time we got. So, but it's going to be special. You're going to see something. It's going to build up. It's going to be really, really cool. And if this cover is any indication, if you think it looks awesome, these are the good guys. You haven't even seen the bad guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the good guys. You haven't seen the bad guys. So we have what's called Sniper Vipers. Oh, man. And these dudes are going to be awesome. They're kind of like that culty, they're quiet. They're not the real bad guys, but they're just special in their own right. We got a lot going on with this book, man. It's going to be really, really special. It's going to be really fun.
Now, I'm just curious, how did you end up getting together, like your team? Like, how did you guys find each other? Because you said you weren't doing anything in the industry or anything. So how did you guys wind up finding one another?
So here, that's a great question, because again, I'm a nobody. I come from, literally, I'm literally a nobody, but I'm coming in. I'm making a name for myself. Like I said, I'm on the come up. I'm getting my stripes. With each successful crowdfunding campaign, that's a stripe. Lair was a stripe. So I said before Lair, I had Under the Flesh. Under the Flesh, I was working with an exceptional artist, and it's kind of like post-apocalyptic, right? Because everyone has a post-apocalyptic story, right? Everyone has an end of the world story. We all have that, right? So Under the Flesh was mine. I didn't get to finish it because my artist then at the time was doing so much work with Marvel, which was amazing. So I get it. So I didn't want to do a Walking Dead and switch to another artist. I kind of want to finish with him. I want to kind of have that last hurrah. We got 3 issues in, and we were left for the following 3, but we'll get there. Another reason why I don't like ongoings, especially for crowdfunding, your book is shot. You're just stuck. Of course, I can move on with another team, but again, I put it aside. I'm going to get back to it, but I can't stay stagnant. So that's where Lair came in, and I had this idea for Lair in my mind for a long time. So I had to find an artist, and I went to Facebook. Has this there's this page called Boom Studios Submissions. I know Boom Studios is a comic publisher.
Right.
It's like artist submissions, and artists will just send in their work. And I'm there, and I'm looking, and I'm scouting, and I saw this piece from Sebastian, and I'm like, it was a badass piece. It had a sci-fi fantasy sword slash type thing going on. It was like Conan in space. It's just like really cool. At least what I got from that little bit. And I'm like, I got to talk to this guy. So I contacted him. I said, hey, I'm trying to do a crowdfunding thing. We started talking. Lair came to be. We teamed up on it, and then it was a matter of finding a letterer and a colorist. And I don't know, and I swear, Davi Komodo is the guy who did the colors on Lair. He did great work. I'm trying to find out how the heck did I meet him. I don't know if it was I don't know if it was on Facebook or something. I somehow met him. Oh, I think it was Facebook. Just a random, hey, I'm a colorist, but I saw something in his work. I saw something special, and I got in touch with him, and he referred me to my letterer, whose name is Davison Manes, and he's out of Brazil. He does his own book, but this guy is a guru for lettering. He has a designer eye. He's just on point. So we came together. We did Lair. Excellent book. Pistoletta is a different team, right? So not the same team as Lair. That's another thing I was doing while Lair was getting fulfilled, because I like to multitask. And then this is where the whole fun thing came in. We did Supernatural Hard, did Western. We got to go back to fun, and then there was a Lair team. So pretty much we got a new colorist. Everyone on board from Lair is back, except we got that new colorist who was referred to by our letterer. So it's like I'm getting these referrals within a little circle, and it's working because they're top quality. And the colorist I had, he did a Kickstarter called The Few and the Cursed, which is like a supernatural Western, very pro-looking book. I didn't know of it that much, but it's definitely going to be one that I'll back, probably a omnibus version in the future, because I know they'll do that, because they're crowdfunding literally like every campaign, and just their audience, they capitalize it in a way that makes me understand that it's, as much as one shots are good, having like a little franchise is also good, because some people are going to come back to continue the story.
Right.
So like Lair was good, but it's a one shot. I'm not continuing that, at least not as of yet. Pistoletta, I ended it 30-page one shot. I always wanted to write a Western. Got that out of my way. Got some good reviews on it. I didn't pay anybody. There's just some nice stuff. That's great. But that's a Western. So it's just like, I'm hoping they'll jump on the Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, just because it's Saturday morning awesome in a comic book. So with that being said, now this is a franchise where I don't want to just stop and let go, where I want to get at least a trilogy for this to happen. So this is how we came together, and I'm hoping we stick together on Galactic Rodents for a while.
Well, I definitely see. I mean, could easily be a franchise.
That's all. I mean, if we can do that, I'd make my day.
I mean, it definitely has the makings of a franchise.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to put it out there that I know it's hard for us to like start something new in life, in anything. We're creatures of habit. We don't like change. Okay, some people don't like it. So sometimes you see a cool looking franchise, you're like, but I don't know, it looks cool, but am I gonna get disappointed? Is this guy a good writer? I mean, the artwork's cool, but is the story gonna fall flat? But then again, is this gonna be another Ninja Turtles in space? Like, I get it. But what I'm trying to say is the hunger I got as a creator, the ambition we got as a team, we are suffering for, and what we're seeing in comics, that we want to create something that would be fun to read. And trust me, this is one that we want to stay on for a good while, but not abuse it, because we know that that you need closure for some things. We get that,
right?
But then I also get, like when you have a cash cow, you want to milk it. I want to have an integrity, and I want to have a respect for the books I put out, for the properties in themselves. Like where, I mean, I love Spider-Man, right? But it's like, how many different Spider-Mans we have? Tobey Maguire, we have James Garfield, we have Tom Holland, and they're all great. I enjoyed every one of them. I love Spider-Man 1 and 2 with Tobey Maguire. I hated Part 3. I love the Spider-Man with James Garfield. It wasn't crazy about, some of the direction in the beginning with his dad and his mom, whatever, but I liked it. The second one with Electro and Jamie Foxx, I was just not feeling it. And, Tom Holland jumped in with the Infinity War. Okay, great. Right. Do we want another reboot? Oh, I hope not. But I'm saying is just, I get how you can keep on doing that, and they're there where they can with the Spider-Man universe. But I kind of don't want to get to the point where, even if my stuff does pick up, if it lives on, I want it to live on in other mediums, like maybe a video game or maybe something else. So to make sharing canon, but with different characters, like that kind of thing I would love. So we're not getting stagnant.
Right.
Franchise.
Well, I feel like when you're doing with this, you're doing you're doing a giant book here, and you're going to put this one out, and then hopefully the fans will be there for another one. You'll do another one. You'll do your trilogy that you want to do. And then, you know what? Maybe somewhere down the road, an idea hits you or something. Mm-hmm. And then you revisit them. It's not like doing a monthly where you have to just constantly be cranking them out.
No, and that's a problem too, because they feel this monthly thing is the formula. No one's saying that it has to be like, if for some things it works, but that's another reason why I got disconnected from Marvel, because they got another Spider-Man #1. Oh,
yeah,
I love Spider-Man. No, don't get me wrong. I even love Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider. I love all that, but it's like different universes. This a different, and then this universe collide with it. My brain is hurting. And then it's just so much, right? It's like Moon Knight is another like a lesser known Marvel character, but he maybe not too prominent. But at the same time, for me, I liked him a lot. I love this story. But then again, how many different Moon Knights we got coming out? It's just, and some of them are great, right? But again, it's just so many different versions, so many different people writing it, so many different takes on it. It's like when you're an original creator and you're the only one writing your stuff, there's a discipline, there's a respect, there's a level of love and nurturing that you don't want to see, go by the wayside. So you really want to take care of your stuff. So with this book, if I'm able to get the trilogy done, I do have in mind what would be like a prequel, and like one standalone shut thing, and that's kind of where I have it. 3 with the 4th, and that's it. From there, I don't know what's going on. I'd like to jump on with the same team to develop a new IP, maybe going into fantasy, just because, again, sadly, I can't write Conan because that would be my dream. But if I could do another version of Conan, and maybe if even a female version of Conan, but the way I want to write it, that's something that sounds really appealing with the team that's putting out this book. So again, that's still getting ahead of ourselves, but just saying that I have a lot of stuff in store. I got a lot of stuff on my plate, and I don't ever want to stop. So for those who back me and supporting me, you guys are getting something cool. It's a true underdog story, and trust and believe, if I ever get to like a Kirkman level, I will never, ever, ever turn my back on the people who got me where I got, on the supporters. I'm as humble as I can be, and I love the people that back my book. So I just want to keep that connection going as long as it can. I think people who back me, and see my writing develop, they're going to be in for a cool treat, because it's someone who takes this game serious, who's doing it while they're a family man, while they're working in the school system, mentoring other kids in a high school, but still making time for his dream and putting some good quality stuff out there. So for me, this isn't a game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's clear, first of all, I've seen people come in and do one campaign and, maybe they barely get it out. Like it's late, or some people, listen, there are established pros who've done crowdfunding campaigns and never delivered on the book. So
yeah, I backed a few of those on Kickstarter, still waiting for those books.
So the fact that, you've already been through this multiple times, hopefully you're building your audience as you go, and it just continues to grow. I mean, you're doing it the hard way, but I feel like it's almost the better way. Yeah. I mean, I know we talked earlier about like you could get on Ethan's show. That obviously is going to jump your numbers. But there are people who've done that and then delivered one book and then you never see them again, or what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so there are some people that took advantage of that, and they're not active on social media. And that was one thing that kind of bothered me when there was a person that was on that show. And again, I love everyone. I respect their work they put out, but it's like, hey, you get that push, kudos to you. It's like, hey, check this stuff out. Trust me, I got a YouTube channel I'm trying to grow. I got a way more followers than said person. I will do you justice. This is for the comics game. But again, and then some of these people, that would get a push or whatnot, either put out a book or maybe haven't put it out yet or something. It happens. I get it. But what I'm trying to say is I went through that struggle with Under the Flesh, because it took me a while to put out the book. Then the second one we got it didn't fund. I canceled it before. It was close. It was like, I don't know. And this was my mistake. I literally launched it where it was in November, and me being naive, didn't think about the Christmas and holiday, where I'm like, even like that, I think my goal was 4,500. I made like 3,000 something. So I canceled it. again, could it have funded? I don't know. I didn't think it would, and I canceled it. But again, if that would have been on IndieGoGo, if I could have put that as a flexible goal with that 3,000 something, I could have made something happen. Again, you live and you learn. So I'm trying to say, all the people who back my Under the Flesh book as well, they're not abandoned. I do have plans for Under the Flesh, and I do have plans to introduce them to Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, and give them a little love, maybe a secret perk for showing loyalty to me in the beginning, and with Under the Flesh, and knowing that I won't abandon that book. But again, I'm getting stronger with each project I put out. With Lair on IndieGoGo, I went through a crazy printing dilemma. Crazy. I was using Kraken Print as a printer. They literally went bankrupt on me.
Oh my God.
Seriously, I was trying to contact them, could not get in touch with them, emailing of a live chat. I did a live chat, and I don't know, let's say 11 in the morning. Hey, what's going on? It was like 1 p.m. the next day. Someone's like, oh, we'll get to you shortly. Are you kidding me? I tried calling, couldn't get in touch with them. I direct messaged some of the people that kind of geared me towards Kraken Print, like, oh, I don't work with Kraken Print anymore. I'm like, dude, you got me into Kraken Print. You don't work with them anymore? What's going on? So I called my bank and I explained the situation, and they're like, okay, if we don't hear back from them, we're going to give you a provisional credit and you're good. And I got the provisional credit. I went with a new printer. But that whole Lair dilemma literally sucked about 5 months almost, because in January, I was contacting them to get printing. Okay. I heard back from them by almost the end of February. So it went out. So, okay, order went out. February, March. And the email communication was horrible. But one thing they said is like, okay, give us 5 weeks, because you're not going to hear, like, give us 5 weeks or 6 weeks, they said, and you should be getting your books. We'll let you know when you're going to be getting them. So me being the honorable customer, patient customer as I am, I literally waited for the 6 weeks, and I gave him an extra week. I think it was like 7 weeks or something. And then I'm like, hey, just checking in, nothing, couple of days. And that's when I went on on a tangent trying to connect with someone. And that's where I found I went bankrupt. So they literally wasted a good chunk of, I'm talking about by the time everything was all said and done, it was like in July where I put a print order for Lair. So you're talking about since January, okay, where I got the funds and everything. It's all the way to, you got 7 months right there. So it was just painful. So that was another thing that I think affected my Pistoleta IndieGoGo, because I put it for a small goal. I wanted to put it for 500, and I didn't realize I put it for 1,000. I think at the end we made like 900 something, but it was flexible. But the thing is, it didn't make it. It wasn't able to go in demand because you got a fund to go in demand. So that was another thing that hurt me, because I got a few copies extra that no one can get, only through if they do the headshot horror pack that you did on Grom. But the thing is, I did a dual campaign. I had Pistoleta on Kickstarter, and then I had Pistoleta on IndieGoGo. So I was like the first guy to do a dual campaign at once. Okay, I'm learning as I go, like I said, right? But Pistoleta funded on Kickstarter, which was great. I made like 4,000 something. The book was able to finance. So now I got Galactic Rodents of Mayhem fully on IndieGoGo. So what I'm trying to say, guys, sorry for that long little commentary, is that I'm getting better with this. I'm getting the game. I'm getting to the point where when the book's done, the fulfillment's going to be done that much faster. And because I know there's people that still haven't put out one book, and I'm fortunate enough to put out at least almost 2 books in a year. So that's pretty cool.
Right.
So I just want to let people know that that's the energy I'm going to be, running with as I continue to create comics.
And now, just for anybody who's watching, anybody who's listening, the link for Galactic Rodents of Mayhem is in the description. So if you want to back it, go ahead and click that and back it.
Get on this ride. It's going to be special. And hopefully we can get this funded. You will not be disappointed. Hear me now. If the end result is it's funded and you read the book and you're not disappointed, I'll give you your money back. Seriously, I'm that convinced. You'll enjoy the book if it's funded, for sure.
Well, like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And you've got, like, as far as perks go, you've got like the MP3. Now, is the MP3 is that the theme song, or what is the MP3?
So the MP3 is of the theme song. We also have a symphonic track, and the symphonic track is that's for the Star Wars opening crawl that we have.
Right.
That I gave to everyone who signed up for the campaign. So like if they did, like if you got on the email list and you sign up on the email list, like one of the secret bonuses, not only were you going to get some cool perk discounts, but everyone who just signed up was going to get the symphonic track as an MP3 for free. That's what I did, and I sent that out. Now, if we get to fund, and we can hit some stretch goals, we do have a soundtrack. The dude who did the theme song is on board to do like a full soundtrack, maybe 8 songs.
Oh wow.
Of stuff that, like, think of like a video game soundtrack, right? When you have the villains come out, they have
right.
And you mentioned Star Fox, right? I love the Star Fox on the 64. I don't know if you remember playing it. Star Fox had his team, right? And then there'd be parts in the game where you go into free range mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these times you go into free range mode, guess what? Star Wolf was showing up with his team.
Yep.
They come in, they had their little music, right? That was just exclusive to them. So, I love Star Fox. There's some references in here as well. But yes, so if we get to the soundtrack, we are going to have some cool pieces of music that ZVT Music, Zalin Talis, who did our soundtrack and symphonic track, who did our theme song. He's like chomping at the bits. He's licking his chops because he definitely wants us to get funded, and he definitely wants us to meet a stretch goal so he could, we could pay him to do some more awesome sounds for our book.
That would be awesome. That would be great to have a soundtrack. That's really cool.
And not for nothing, with the artwork like that maybe we could get to the point where it could be a physical soundtrack.
Okay.
But again, that's all on the stretch goals.
Right.
If that's in the cards, we'd love to provide that.
Right. And now just the basic, just the book, that's 25.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going through the perks here. 2 versions of the book, 55.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get 2. Then there's the headshot pack, which is what I did. That's for all 3 books. You got Lair, Pistolera, and Galactic Rodents of Mayhem.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a nice one. And the Pistolera version you're getting there is a convention exclusive that I did. So it's pretty much going to be the size of what Galactic Rodents of Mayhem is going to be. It's kind of like, it's like real big.
Oh, okay.
And for me, it's like a throwback to like the Westerns. I don't know. Like Westerns is all cinematography as well, right? You got the big panels. It's just, for me, I love, okay. There's hardcore people who love their little standard comic size comic because you put in the little baggie with the board, you put in your little long box. I get it. I know I get it. But I also grew up on Conan, and I love the Savage Sword of Conan's, and I love like kind of like that magazine size they had. I don't know if you ever read those.
Right.
I don't know if you ever enjoyed them. I love them. So that's also another thing that I liked. So again, you're gonna have more real estate, more panels, more stuff. It won't fit in your long box, so forgive me for that. But it can fit in there. Okay, just curve it a little bit. It'll be all right.
Listen, then you just got to put it on a shelf. That's all.
Yeah, squeeze it in or on the top. Yeah, it'll work.
And then you got the one with the T-shirt.
Yeah, that will probably be the final design. I don't know. I'm playing around with it. Maybe I'll do like a vote thing or to get some feedback from the people. But yes, we do have a T-shirt that comes with a pinup that comes also with the MP3.
Right. Then you got the hat. You add the hat to it, and then you've got the one for $200. You can create your own anthro character.
Yeah, because I just thought, like, if you see the background, right? Like, there's some distinction, right? We got like a wolf kind of character, got the bull with the hook in his nose. Like, there's gonna be a lot of spots in the book where we could squeeze in a little cameo. And what's gonna be cool is, in addition to the cameo that you have, Sebastian is also gonna do a full sketch of the character you create.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
yeah, so like, say if the cameo, like, you didn't like. Again, we're limited to the story and what we can do, but we're going to try to give you service for sure, no doubt. But you're also going to get a cool exclusive signed sketch from Sebastian of your character. So if it's a guinea pig, if it's a pangolin, if it's a tarantula, for goodness sake, we'll make an anthropomorphic tarantula. We'll give him 4 arms, dude, on each side. Or 3 arms, and then he'll have his legs. So I'm just saying, like, whatever it is, we're gonna make it happen. If it's an animal, it's gonna be anthropomorphized for you.
It's funny because this is like it's just like a different version of a lot of campaigns do the have yourself drawn into the book.
Sorry, they know. I'm sorry, we're not having humans in this book.
Well, no, I like it. I think it's a cool twist on that. I think it's just a nice twist on that.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, your character you want to create will be in the book. However you want them designed, if you want them as in a ballerina outfit, right? Or you want, I don't know, as a cowboy. Like I'm just saying, like the sky's the limit. If you want to dress up as a wooden toy soldier, whatever crazy thing comes to your mind, we'll make it happen. And it'll be a cameo in the book.
I think it's a great idea. I thought when I saw that, I'm like, that's a brilliant idea. Because there's so many people out there who have like original characters, and those things may never see the light of day anywhere. Yeah. But like, here's a spot where they could be like, hey, my character's in a comic.
Be in there, and you'll get your sketch. And I don't know, maybe something cool could happen if I'm so enamored by it. Maybe I could include it as like a main character in like our second volume. That might be a good reward in itself. Set it along to like just one. And have to be a little bit higher, but maybe that could be like after we fund,
right?
I'm gonna fund, and we're funding. So chances are, really well, we'll have a second volume since the first one was funded. So maybe I could kind of add that where your anthropomorphic character will be like a main character, not like main, but like a side character that's gonna get some love, throughout our trilogy. So that you just gave me a good idea right there.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when I had the guys from Oddity on, I was talking to them about something that I was saying how I like. One of the things I like when campaigns do is as they're promoting, when they do like art contests, fan art contests, and I know you're already doing that.
Yeah, and I was able to be with Indie Dave the other day, and he said, because he had a fan art contest, or somehow he's like, do a fan art contest. He was trying to tell me it's a good way, and I'm like, you know what? Why didn't I think of that? And I have books to give out. I got, obviously, if this funds, of course, the top prize could be a Grom signed book. But I could throw in a signed copy of Pistoleta for one. I could throw in a signed, like as a second and third prize option. So like, hey, top three, because I know how it is. You're not the top prize. You're not going to get away. Won't come away. You'll come away empty-handed or whatnot. Guess what? Top 5 will get something. But don't underestimate these capybaras are hard to draw. I did a tweet because I'm in talks with someone to do a few people actually. I've been talking with a lot of people to do a pinup of the capybaras. Because I do have a guest pinup that I'm working on. I do have some reveals that I want to toss out there. And one of the persons that I got, they're just like, dude. I'm like, and I put it on Twitter. I'm not gonna say what it was, but I just put a little chunk of the text. They're like, they're frustrating me. They're like, I can't seem to get these characters out. Like, I'm gonna try again tomorrow. I'm like, hey man, no worries, take your time. But it just shows you that it's hard, I guess. They're not that simple to just draw out. You might have to play around with getting something right. So again, I encourage anyone. You got the campaign here is full of references. The retro cover shows them in like different attire, and then you got our main cover which shows them in like this Gears of War type, combat special ops suit. So there's a lot to have fun with this.
Yeah, I think as far as promotion goes, I feel like art contests, like fan art contests, are a great way to go because people are then constantly, they're tweeting out their entries. So they're sharing their entries, which is in turn sharing more awareness of the book.
I'm gonna have to spam it out harder. I haven't got any entries yet, or I don't know if there's people working on it, but I got to be aggressive on there because you are going to get something. I think I do a video with me showing at least a physical copy of Lair and Pistoleta and be like, hey, if Grom gets funded, you will get a copy of this for the first prize. So get some more traction because it's who doesn't want to draw capybaras, with guns and knives, right?
Well, it's funny. Like when I saw you were doing a contest, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure something out. All right, let me think. Let me put my hat on and think about what could be a good one because I entered the.
Yeah, man, definitely get in there.
I will.
Free copy. I'm saying you backed already. You'll have an additional book.
I entered the Shinobi Sasquatch fan art contest.
Nice.
I did the Hero Blood of Patriots. I did their fan art contest. I'll definitely give it a shot, especially now that you said that when you tweeted out the thing about them being hard to draw. I'm like, well, now I have to try it.
And you'll see there's one, like I put 3 or 4 pictures up there, but the 4th picture is literally the tweet of the message I got. It's like, dude, I'm frustrated. I'm gonna come back tomorrow, or I'm like, okay, no problem. But I'm like, damn, okay, this is something.
I'm gonna have to figure out. I'll see what I'm gonna do, but I'll figure something out. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, no doubt. You don't rush greatness. You just come to you.
But like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, part of me, like I said, part of me is I want to help promote these books. I know I don't have the biggest audience in the world, but you know what? Anything I can do to help promote books that look like cool, fun books, like that's my whole. I put out a video the other day where I was just ranting about this whole thing that was going around where comic pros were saying that they shouldn't be on them to promote their books, and I just flipped out. I lost it.
No, I get it. Like, here's the thing. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard to have the energy to promote your stuff, but at the same time, I mean, it's cool if you have a freaking entourage to do it for you. I mean, otherwise, you're gonna have to get to grassroots and talking to people. And I could understand maybe if you don't want to go to your local comic book shop and say, hey, could you, maybe a Saturday allow me to put my table up, have my books, and hey, I'll give you a cut or whatever you make. Like, that might be hard. But online, what do you lose by just tweeting or something about your book to connect with the fans, to promote it? I don't know. Is that which way did they not want to promote their books?
Yeah, they were literally just complaining about just any idea of promoting their stuff. It was like this whole thing of it shouldn't be put. I mean, it was kind of this thing of like they were so self-important that it was beneath them to have to do that. Like it's not the artist's job to promote their work. That's like, are you kidding me?
Well, I see Sebastian because he's the artist, right? And he's charming. He's a freaking funny guy. He lives out in Uruguay, and I know the time difference could be, it's a little, I think by an hour or so. And it could be intimidating if you're like introverted to like just get on my live stream and just have a conversation with me in English.
Sure.
English isn't his native language, but I'm like, dude, you got to understand, people also want to connect with the artist. I'm just a writer. I'm not that important. Of course, I don't want to say I'm not that important, right? But I'm like, dude, I give it to you. You're the power because you're the art, right? But at the same time, right? If I market this on my own, I need help, dude. I'll write the story. You could draw and back me up, but dude, in a promoting, we got to hit it together. He's on vacation now because he's coming back from Chile in a few days. But I'm like, it's like, dude, we need. Because I think that also helps the campaign, because when people see like the artists also throwing stuff out there, it's like a tandem. You got everyone going on. So I guess this also could be maybe a difference because my team is like, they're more international in that I have the letterist hails from Brazil, and I got the colorist who's also from Brazil. But again, you see their work; it's freaking top notch.
Right.
But then again, English isn't their native language, so maybe being out and talking like that it could be a little intimidating. And then of course, Sebastian from Uruguay, and then lowly me from born in New York, not living in Florida. It's like I'm the one talking in all these shows, and I don't mind, but it's like they need help too, and I want to encourage them, but at the same time, not that it's beneath them. I think more it's just jitters. It just got to shake those jitters. I think
that's that's understandable. But then I also, like even like these people were like, what I see pros sometimes, especially pros who work for the big two, they'll just be like, they'll put a tweet that says like, "Hey, I made a thing." And that's the extent of their promotion for the book. And it's like, are you serious?
I don't know. Here's the thing with Twitter. It's like you put a tweet out and it goes by so fast. People catch it. Or if they go to your profile, they can kind of see all your tweets, of course. But most of the times you're just seeing tweets as they come out. It's hard. Like you could miss a tweet. So it's like if you do, hey, I made a thing. I mean, is it getting seen or not? But if you're not doing it repeatedly, I don't know. Like I gotta find a way to, I guess, tweet better. I don't know. Like I could see where it's hard to write the same thing over again. It's like, yeah,
Right.
capybaras are cool, but like, how much can I write about capybaras? Then I don't want my whole page to be saturated with just me and my book. But then at the same time, I do need to raise 15 grand. So like, what's too much? What's not too much? And then you gotta be more charming than, hey, here's this thing I put out.
Right. Well,
unless you're Sean Murphy, and you're a freaking rock star.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? I got this thing, and that's it. And you forget about it. It's going to be lit up.
But the funny thing is he is somebody who does promote his stuff. And like you said, like he doesn't even need to, because people are just waiting for his stuff. And
he's amazing.
But he literally all throughout his process for doing the sequel to White Knight, like throughout the whole process, he was posting work in progress. He was posting images. He was just constantly updating people about what he was doing. And like, this is probably the most anticipated Batman book in ages.
Let me tell you something. I told you I was disconnected from Marvel. I was doubly disconnected also from DC. But again, I love Batman, right? But then again, I said exhaustion, right? But still, you can make Batman fresh. And this is him writing, right? Or this pitch, however he got this, what DC and his Black Label. But when I caught wind of White Knight, I did what is it like? You do the cross, right? You do the sign of the cross, like, on your hands, on your forehead, across you kiss, right? You do that little, can't even think of the name of it. But I did that because I'm like, this is something I guess I was like, you're waiting for your whole life. It's just like, why couldn't they do a movie on this angle, right?
Yeah.
Where Joker just gets out of Arkham. I'm like, I could buy that. And he's going this political route against Batman. I can buy that. It shows you that, you can still do some edgy stuff with Batman. And how they get away with it, this freaking Black Label crap, where it's like a one shot that maybe it's not canon or not, but it's its own universe type thing. That's genius, because now, like, any Black Label book that comes out, if it's another Green Lantern, whatever, I'm going to be invested, because I don't need to know all the other stuff that I forgot or that I care to know because I was so disconnected. I could just get fully immersed in this book. And with Sean Murphy, that's what he did. And I got triply excited over Batman. And I bought the White Knight graphic novel when I found out about it. And I didn't do the floppies. I'm not getting tortured. I waited, and that was it. Bought the first graphic novel, sat down, read it in its entirety, and loved how it ended. And now we got a second volume. Again, I'm waiting to the paperback, but I'm excited for it. He's doing a great thing, and him with the updates, he's keeping us salivating, for over this book, anything new over it.
Well, and that's the thing. If he can do that, anyone can do that.
True that.
It's not hard to make an effort when you could, because it comes down to, you can tell that he is excited about what he's doing.
No, he's a stud.
And when somebody has that excitement is contagious.
Yep.
If you're excited about the book that you're putting out, that excitement becomes infectious. Everybody sees the excitement, and they know, like, this guy is going all out to make the best work he can do.
Oh yeah.
And that's the key. That's why, like, that's why I want to help people promote as much as I can. That's why I'm having people on my channel left and right. I don't have the biggest audience, but I said, you know what? I need to do something to help these people, because these people are making, like, kick-ass looking books. They're and anything I can do to help promote these books, because I want people to read good comics, because I want comics to continue to exist.
Yeah, it's like, I almost feel like mainstream is like, oh, comics are done. I'm like, hey, guess what? Let's say the worst case scenario does happen. Comics are never going to go out, because people are there's an itch there, and crowdfunding is supplying that itch. Whether it's IndieGoGo or Kickstarter, if you find a creator you like and you connect with him, you're going to back their books, and that audience will grow. And guess what? It's going to be unavoidable, and it's going to be hard to ignore. And you're going to have where Netflix is going to be like, okay, you know what? We're going to kind of check what's crowdfunding now. We're going to be scouting that, for our next content. And the battle is going to be about content because you got Netflix exclusives. Disney now is going to have their exclusives. I'm sure they're going to be buying up stuff. HBO, right? They're going to have stuff going on. Hulu is another one, right?
Right. Amazon.
Right. Amazon Prime. There's already 5 we just mentioned that are like the powerhouses, and I'm sure there might be more. And what's to say someone has money and wants to invest in a new streaming service, and they start buying out all this stuff, and they have connections, and they got, film contacts. It's there. It's just some people don't know about it. They look at Marvel, DC, what's coming out with them. They don't know, like, there's a plethora of amazing books outside of that are having they're like their own little microcosm, their own little societies. Each book has their own. Like, I'll go on Kickstarter. There's books I never heard of, and it's like over 200% funded.
Right.
They got their audiences working for them. So I'm trying to do that now with Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, because that's one that I want to keep on coming back to, because I kind of want to build something really fun. And overall, I think we're on to something. Comics won't die.
Well, no, I agree. I've said that before. I mean, a lot of people keep saying, oh, comics are dying. No, and I always say the industry that we know it, the big two, they might be dying. They might go away at some point, but comics themselves are not going to go away. It's just changing.
Yeah, they're not going away. It's changing.
No.
And this is the second, I want to say crowdfunding is the second revolution. I know the Image did that little revolution, and for what it stood for, because they were doing the books and they were like not getting paid what they should, or creative rights and all this stuff, and that, like, you know what, we're just gonna create Image. And the Spawn came out, and then all this other stuff, right? And it's just like, wow. So till now, Spawn got issue 300. It really still got a plethora of other awesome books that under the Image label. No. It just shows you that, hey, there's still love out there for comics. But for those, who don't know where to look, crowdfunding is a second boon. It's because of the state of the industry now, and Diamond Distribution is like got this monopoly. They got the stranglehold, and it's like you got to, this kind of books, and then people like me that maybe had the funds to want to get into comic shops through their own labels, the hurdles they got to jump to even get into other preview pages, and then to even get ordered the book.
Oh yeah.
It's just it's like, all right, what is going on?
Well, and as far as that goes, if the stuff from Marvel and DC is not selling, then the shops don't have the money to order untested or unknown books.
Unknown book for sure. And that's what it's like for me. I used to love just going in a comic shop, and again, I know it was Spider-Man were big back then, but then there's something I'm telling you, I would not forget. I went to a comic shop, and I don't know, I was in this phase in my 13-year-old, I was at 13 or 12 or something, or 14. Don't ask me how I was watching rated R Vietnam War movies. Platoon was big, Full Metal Jacket, and I wanted to read a comic that kind of like was something about Vietnam War, something about war. And I went into a comic book shop, and again, I think it was in one of the long boxes. I pulled out something called Nam 75 or something.
Yep.
And I just picked out one cover that caught my attention and read through it, and like I'll never forget that. But it's because I like went in there looking for something specific. I didn't know anything about, hey, this writer did this at that age. I'm just looking for this type of product. So I feel like if you would have all these unnamed people or whatever, if you look at a cover of a book and you see something as cool as, I don't know, like a Cyber Frog or like a Monster MD, a Downcast, or Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, to throw mines out there, or Oddity, like people go in a comic shop, you look for something that is going to catch your attention and you read it. Like if you're going to buy a novel, granted that there's people who at the heels at whatever new Stephen King will throw out, or George R.R. Martin, but there's some people that got to get published and get put out there. They'll write their little query letter, and a publisher will say, yeah, we'll take a chance on this, and put you in there. Again, there's a whole lot of gatekeeping and publishing too, so it's very hard. So I like the fact that at least with crowdfunding, you could support a great book. Granted, because of the state of affairs and how things are going, it's that much harder to get an awesome, powerful looking book, but by an unknown, into comic book shops. Because again, it might look cool, but then it's just like, it's like away we go, and the cycle of doom continues. It's just like, I think that whole thing needs to be revamped, and I hope something happens. I just hope so, because we need a new distribution cycle or something.
Yeah, well, I know I had Peter Samedi on from Alterna a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying, first of all, he's going to do his own distribution model.
I caught that, yeah.
And on top of that, he had a great idea for comic shops as well. He was saying that, shops could do themselves a big favor by organizing comics by genre as opposed to doing it by publisher or just alphabetical or whatever. And
you feature maybe the latest stuff or something.
And I thought that made a lot of sense. So, if you're somebody who's never bought a comic before and you decide to make that step and go into a comic book shop, you're going to walk in and be like, what am I even looking at? I have no idea.
And a lot of people that they'll see the movie of Spider-Man and they're like, okay, I kind of know I want to get back into Spider-Man comics. They go in and they see like which Spider-Man book am I buying? Because it's so much, again, you'll get lost, right? You don't know what you're getting into.
Right.
And even for some people that just casually want to check in a comic book shop, they don't have this setup where it's by genre or something. At least in Barnes and Nobles, it's just graphic novel and everything is alphabetical. So you're just kind of looking for a title that catches your attention because you can't even see the cover because they're all placed on the side. But again, Peter Samedi bringing up a good idea, but you got to have the comic book shops willing to do this. And I don't know, there's potential there. There's potential because comics, like I said, as an entertainment medium, there's a lot of firepower. It's just a matter of working the system in a way that's not hindered by the bureaucracy, by the political climate, by the whatever, the gatekeeping it's just have an integrity within the industry itself. But again, it's all like everything is. It's all about money and control, and there's just a lot of cool stuff just will forever get missed if it's not taken care of, or if someone doesn't do maybe like what Peter Samedi's doing and trying to find a distribution method that works. And I like Alterna, and maybe let's say if I pitch Galactic Rodents of Mayhem to him, I'm like, hey, listen, this is a powerful looking book. If this gets in comic book shops, it has power in itself just visually. And when I was doing my first convention in Tampa, which was literally a couple weeks ago, I didn't have no Galactic Rodents of Mayhem books, and sadly, I was limited. I didn't think to print maybe a huge poster. I had a small poster and I had a table, and everyone's like, "Look at that Galactic Rodents of Mayhem! Oh my God, what's that?" And so many people came up and just to talk about. I'm like, "Yeah, I got an IndieGoGo." They're like, "An indie what?" Guess what? I don't have the book. I got to create the book. I got to finance the book. So crowdfunding. You know what crowdfunding is? No, you heard of GoFundMe? Yeah, I'm like, think about a GoFundMe, but for this project. So it's just trying to explain the whole crowdfunding thing to them as well. But again, there's potential there. So let's just say teaming up with something like an Alterna and a new distribution method to get something like a cool book out, or other people that are getting some books out could team up, and I think that's a good way to pioneer something new.
You know what? I'm sorry not to interrupt. I just had a thought. If you're doing another show, I mean, you could tell me if this is the worst idea ever, but I'm just thinking to myself, if people come up and you've got to explain to them what crowdfunding is and all that stuff, if you had at your table or print out a bunch of just small cards or whatever, little flyers, anything with a QR code that they can just aim their phone at and it'll take them directly to the IndieGoGo.
Oh, dude. I got to do that for oh my God, dude. Oh man. At the time, all I had was an email list. So it wasn't live. I'd literally have to do a convention within 40 something days. And New York Comic Con is out. That whole QR code thing is a freaking genius idea. That's something for hopefully if we fund this for the second volume, because then we'll have a book already to sell, and we can kind of get them on the mailing list for when the campaign will launch for the second book, so you can attract new readers that way.
Right,
dude, that's awesome. Oh,
just because I'm just thinking, because everybody's always got their phones on them, and rather than to have to explain to every person oh no, it's crowdfunding and you have to go to IndieGoGo and then explain the website or any of that, they can just scan that with your phone.
Yeah, and get your copy. It's going to come out in a few months. We need you to back that book. Just get that book. You can buy your book here. Just kind of like that. It'll come to you.
Like at least if nothing else, it gets them to go look at it.
Great idea. I gotta check more on that QR code. That's a genius. Too genius.
Well, like I said, I'm trying to help any way I can.
Wow, you're hitting it, man. That's kind of, you know what? I might have to look into how the QR code, like how that works, right? Because maybe that's a good way to team up with the comic shop and be like, hey, if people they're coming, you got this table set up, and they're basically with their phones clicking on and going right to the campaign. And then maybe work out a deal with the comic book shop that, hey, if we fund, I'll give you, I don't know, 5 books, for free that you can sell, or 10 books or whatever. I don't know. That's like, again, I don't know. I don't work too much with the comic shops, and I feel like the local comic shop, when I had Lair going on, I kind of touched base with them to see if they kind of want to do something like that, and they turned me down. And I don't know if it's because, I kind of reneged on my pull list, because I don't know if that has something to do with it, because it's getting too crazy. It's just like, again, I'm more of like trade paperback guy, and I got back into it. I was following some of the books but I have this big plastic bag with a crap ton of these floppies, and I'm reading them. But then again, it's just like there's some where I missed, like, I guess one book, and even they missed one. I had this pull, and like they gave me like 1, 2, 5, and 6. It's like 4. It's like, oh, so it's just, I'm like, what, just cancel the pull list. So I don't know if that kind of had some blowback, and if it did, it sucks. It's like, come on, man. I tried everything. I'm like, listen, sell it for what you think and keep a profit. I'll sell it to you for like X amount. I tried to do all that. They weren't interested. And I think it's because of that. But maybe I got to try instead of the LCS, maybe a FCS, like a farther comic shop.
Yeah, that might work. You could cut some kind of deal with them. Like, even if they just put like a poster up or something, and you have a QR code on the poster or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna look. That was a QR code. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that shouldn't be hard. I could Google that, right? How to get the QR.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And then you could just do the print the image out with the QR code on it, and boom, bam,
yeah,
done. Okay.
And then all they got to do is just point their phone at it, and it'll take them to wherever the QR code is going to lead them to. That's
what I'm gonna do. I got an idea. I got you, man. That's a great idea, because I still got 49 days, so. I could have that set for like with 30 days left, and hit a couple local comic shops and try to do this thing. That's something. You're giving me something to work with. Yeah. Hey, listen. I hope it helps. Yeah, I'm hoping. And then I'm gonna have, at the end of this week, coming up on Friday, I am doing my zine, my fanzine, my online fanzine, Indie Comics Underground. The first issue is coming out to anybody who's signed up for the subscription. It's going to come to their mailbox on Friday, and that's got an exclusive interview with you and a feature about Galactic Rodents of Mayhem in it. Awesome. So that's another thing to look forward to. Everybody who subscribed, the list is the link if you want to subscribe is in the description. Okay. Anybody can sign up for that. It's free. It's just my way of helping to promote books. It's going to come to your mailbox. You'll get it first, and then probably on the following Monday, I will do the wide out release where I'll just post it somewhere online. Right on, man. I'm signing up right now. It's cool. It's coming together pretty good. I'm putting the final touches on it now. It's gonna have a feature on Grom. It's gonna have a feature on Oddity. It's got some other stuff in there too. It's got an exclusive cover done just for us from Simon Bennett, also known as Final Fight Guy. Nice. He's the guy who did the Jawbreakers Remastered Book 1. He did the cover for me. He's a cool guy. If you ever get a chance to talk to him, he's a really cool guy. And he's a fantastic colorist too. And Final Fight or Flight? Final Fight Guy. You remember the game Final Fight? I do. So I was just trying to. So you mean Final Fight Guy? Yeah. Remember, because they made 2 versions of the game back on Super Nintendo. Oh. They made Final Fight, but you could only choose Mike Hagar and Cody. Okay. And in the arcade, they also had Guy. So then they later released another version called Final Fight Guy, because it had Guy in it instead of Cody. Oh my gosh. So he did what he do the artwork to that? Or?
I don't know. I think he just liked it, and it just ended up being his Twitter handle.
Oh, that's his handle. Okay, I'll look him up. Okay, that's easy to remember. Final Fight guy. Okay, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know Final Fight. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, no, he's a really cool dude. He's really talented. He's colored some stuff for me just for fun. Like I didn't even ask him to. I just posted some artwork, and he would just like a day later, he would just like DM me back and be like, "Hey, I just did this for fun," and he's like this amazing coloring job on some picture I posted.
Man, I might need to hire him for some new work.
He's good. He's very good.
That's it, man.
But yeah, I've got he's doing the cover, and I've got an exclusive pinup by him that's going to be in the book too. So that's cool.
Goodness.
And then yeah, it's every month. I'm just going to do one every month and help people promote their books and have people on these streams and just trying to promote. I'm just trying to help this whole movement. I just love this movement, this energy of these comic books that are coming out, the crowdfunding, the indie stuff, that just people who you can tell they really are putting their heart and soul into their projects. And that's what I want to read. I want to read comics by people who love comics.
There you go. That's the philosophy I could live by. And you never know what you're doing. You might, this could take off, and Jam Creates could be like a go-to place. Who knows? And at the same time, you can meet people that they're going to go to your channel because maybe that person turned out to be like a prominent person. But like, wow, this is like this candid interview of this person before like what this happened, and they'll always be archived. So that's also pretty neat.
That's true. The internet is forever.
So you keep doing it, because the key to this is consistency. So as long as you got that, it's going to be special.
Well, that's the thing. Like I said, I'm I work full time. I've got my family, and that's why like things like video games and stuff have kind of had to take a back seat. Because I've gotten, I'm doing this, and at the same time, I'm doing the zine, I'm doing the YouTube channel, and at the same time, I got back into drawing after not drawing for about 20 years. So
you got a lot on your plate.
So eventually, at some point, I will try and do my own book. But
yeah, okay, dude, it's gonna come. Don't rush that. Just like you said, eventually, like it's gonna come, and with the idea or whatever, it'll happen, and it's a good feeling when it does. But get ready for the battle, because this will be a fun one.
Yeah, well, it's definitely. I know, people don't understand like how much work goes into the crowdfunding and all that, and and that's why when I see somebody like this past week and a half, 2 weeks, I've seen Peter Samedi all over the place. Like I have seen him everywhere because he's doing Alternaween too. And he's been promoting the hell out of that. And a guy, and that's the guy. I mean, he's basically running. He runs that entire company by himself.
He's a trooper, dude. Oh my god, I'm just wowed by this. He's a one-man show, and he's built for this. So to be able to have a publishing house and get your books literally and legitimately in comic shops, and not only comic shops, he got them to like even. He's trying to do with the newsprint. He was getting them in other places, even Barnes and Nobles, I think. Like he's doing something special. He's thinking out of the box. He's like a true renegade. He's doing what he needs to do to break the mold for comics, and I like what he's doing.
Yeah, I do too. I really like what he's doing with Alterna, and they put out good quality books. Like I enjoy the books they're putting out. So, I mean, it's like a win-win. It'd be different if he was putting out garbage, but like he's putting out good books on top of everything else.
That's it. That's all you can do is put stuff out. There's people that'll just be steady Alterna fanboys, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
Just mostly Alterna stuff. And if you can do that, you just keep them happy, and all you gotta do is just bring new content out and just cipher and shift and sift through the good stuff. That represents your brand, and that's all you gotta do. People will support it.
All right, so one more time, I'm gonna let you go. We've been here going for about almost 2.5 hours. So
that's cool, man. That was a hell of a show. I wasn't expecting to be on this long, but it happened that way. That's a good chemistry.
So that I just want to remind everybody one more time, Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. The link is in the description on IndieGoGo live now. How many pages is it?
It's going to be 104, but if we put in our 3-page pitch at the auction, it'll be like, then when you got little credits and stuff, we say over 110 pages easily.
Yeah, so 110 pages. This is going to be a large book, and definitely looks like a kick-ass book. And I am definitely looking forward to this, and I want this to get funded because I want to read this book.
Damn well, I want you to get it in your hands. So, guys, if you like what you hear with me and Jam chatting away, and you like the artwork, you like the premise of the story, there's heart, blood, and soul and tears that went into creating everything for you. If you back it, it'd be much appreciated. We're trying to bring the fun back in comics, and we can't do it without you, and it could only happen with you. So appreciate it, guys. Jam, thank you so much for having me on the show, brother.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. You're welcome back anytime. Oh, and good luck with the hurricane.
Yes, hopefully I heard it died down a little bit, but it's still we're getting some outer bands. So who knows? Things shift back and forth. Praying that all goes well.
Yeah, well, we will be thinking about you as we're watching all the footage on the news.
Yes. Hopefully I'll be all right. Yes, guys, stay safe. If you're in Florida, anyone who watches this from Florida, just hunker down.
All right. Thank you, Gilbert, for joining us. Everybody in the chat, everybody who's watching, everybody who watches later, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the page if you're not already subscribed. The link's below for Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. You can hit the IndieGoGo. Also, the link below for Indie Comics Underground. The first issue will be sent out to subscribers on Friday. And then it'll be out for the rest of the internet, all those fools who waited, on Monday. All right. So everybody take care. Have a great night. Peace out.
Peace out. Thank you, guys.